If you've ever been ready for the new golden age, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back. Happy Tuesday, January 21st. I hope that you enjoyed your 3-day weekend. We are back for yet another slightly truncated week in the market. We got a lot going on, a lot to discuss, a lot of news to break down. Let's get right to it. Good morning, folks, and welcome back. Happy Tuesday. It is great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. We'll start off with this one here. Minister 3219. Welcome back. Buckeyed peas, anyone? I will never root for Ohio State, but you know what, Minister? Congratulations. That game last night was incredible. And I'll tell you what, Buckeyes really did a great job here, especially late in the season post Michigan. Anyway, with all that aside, welcome back, everybody. It is the start of a new week. Although we are starting it on Tuesday, it is going to be your synthetic Monday here today. El Porky, good morning. Kayla, good morning. Sun-kissed Yogi, good morning. Tanya, good morning. Paul, welcome back, boss. Good morning. Market Sniper and Hustle and Bustle. Locked in. Good morning, folks. Happy New Week, Minister. Good morning. Chuck, good morning. Let me know which shoes you end up going with. Chuck, Hustle and Bustle, getting ready to make some money before you hustle on them houses. I love it. White chocolate mocha. The day has now started off correctly now that we have white chocolate mocha in the house. Crimp Biscuit, welcome back. Drew, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back, boss. Hugh, great to see you. Hopefully you guys all have your coffee. Jane, welcome back. Arhan, welcome back. Hello, Cat. Hard for me to not like that handle. Welcome back, Gary. Good to see you. Welcome back. Sir Shelley Don saying, go blue. You know what? Indeed, go blue. Today, though, we are going to take the high road, and we are going to be happy for OSU. At least that's what we're going to wear on the outside. Florida Yacht Insurance Guy, good morning, dude. Welcome back. Sergeant Sexy, good morning. Hello, friends. Christopher Anthony Forsman Nance is back. Good morning, Christopher. Walter, Day Trader, Glenn, and Jennifer. Welcome back. It's great to see a whole bunch of you here. Let's dive right into the news that was made over the weekend and yesterday. And let's get you prepared for today, because I do think that there are going to be plenty of opportunities and plenty of things for us to trade here today. Now, first of all, starting with the SPY. So said on Monday last week, January 13th, that the price action told me it sure seems like we have a near-term bottom, and that has been correct, at least so far. Now, does that bottom hold for this week? I want to think so, but initially on that near-term bottom, gave that a 2-week time horizon. I think we probably stay above this low here this week. We'll see how the trading action goes. What I will say here is that it's nice to see some green arrows across the board to start this new golden age, as we'll discuss here in a sec. S&P futures up 0.4% here today. Dow futures up 0.46% here today. And NASDAQ also up 0.46 here today. So green across the board. Bitcoin also up. Bitcoin had a wild ride over the weekend, capping out at about 108,000 before coming back in. I think this is only the beginning of the volatility that we're going to see, but we're going to have plenty of time to discuss that. So looking at the SPY here, where are we? What does this week look like here? It is, by the way, with it being a Tuesday, it's a T3 Tuesday, and we're going to have Red Dog on today, and we're going to ask him what he thinks of the SPY here today. Currently running up to this $600 level. As you can see, the current price here in the pre-market up just shy of 0.5% is 611 cents. We are above that 50-day moving average. So we were able to get above that on Friday, close above that, and so far we're holding above that here today. Two pretty key levels here today to watch to both the upside and the downside. Okay, first one here to the upside is going to be a high of the candle from December 26th. That high here is 602 If you want to call that 602.5, I'm not going to fight you on it. But 602.48, 602.5, that is definitely going to be one of the upside levels that we're going to need to take out in order for SPY to continue to move higher. We'll see what we get in terms of the volume now that the inauguration, which took place yesterday, has passed. I'm actually really curious to see what those volume levels are. And then obviously on the downside here, that 50-day moving average, right? Even if we do kind of turn around and sell off here, I think if we're able to stay above the 50-day moving average, that sets up pretty good for the rest of the week here. That value at 595.66. So plenty of stuff there. And just kind of taking a look across for the rest of the week here for some of the things that can move it. Obviously, we're in earnings season. We're going to have earnings all week. We had some earnings this morning that we'll take a look at here in a little bit. But looking ahead here, economic events. Thursday, we have initial jobless claims, and Friday, we have PMI data and the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Number. So we'll see if those have any effect. Some more welcomes here this morning on this Tuesday. Beg your pardon. Kevin, good morning. Jim, good morning. Eric, good morning. Sanshika and Larry, good morning. Neville, good morning. Ryan Milligan, good morning. James, good morning. Progressive G, good morning. So welcome back, folks. We should, again, as I said at the open here, for anyone that was a little bit late, we should have a great week on tap here, despite only being 4 days. Also, not sure where you are, but here in Chicago, it is currently -9. So we are really pushing the mercury lower here. I hope wherever you are, you are warm and safe. I haven't confirmed with 13 yet this morning on whether or not he has power. I know we are expecting a storm there, so we'll see how that shakes out. I'll actually see if I can confirm that here in a little bit. Good morning, Fairchild. It is great to have you back. What's the temperature up there in Wisconsin? Be curious to know. Kailash asking about D-Wave, which is, of course, QBTS. Stick around. We're going to be I don't have levels for you right now, but we will go over levels on that. We talk about it every single day. We've talked about the quantum theme for weeks, so it seems you're a little late to this one. I'd be very, very careful, but stick around. I'm sure we'll cover some of those quantum names, not just the stock that you asked about, but others as well. Okay, getting back down to brass tacks here. Let's run through the news. Again, SPY, big level that I'm watching is the high from December 26th. If we get above that, we can start looking at some other levels like 608, but let's see what we do in terms of getting across that high there, 602.5. In there, 602.48, the exact number. Okay, let's run through some of the stories that are actually pressing on the market here today. We were closed yesterday for MLK Day. Also, what happened on Martin Luther King Day was the inauguration of President Trump as the 47th president. Trump sworn in as the 47th president and immediately declared a golden age of America begins right now. That's the quote. Quote, golden age of America begins right now, end quote. So really good stuff. We'll see if that continues. I will say that the market here this morning seems to say that. Green arrows across the board here definitely seems like a lot of optimism. I didn't actually watch a lot of the formal inauguration stuff. I did follow headlines and things on Twitter, and I kind of recapped it at night, but I didn't spend my day watching it. I spent my day doing other things that I needed to get done. But it did seem like pretty generally there is a lot of optimism for this, and I think that's really good. The more people I talk to, especially the more wealthy people I talk to, they talk about having money on the sidelines. They talked about being ready. They talked about hoping to be able to dive into this market and a lot of things. So I know we're talking about a market that needs a pullback juxtaposed against a lot of people kind of waiting on the sidelines. Who will win that fight? Where will the market go? It's going to be a big discussion, and that's something that we're going to focus on every single day here. One of the other things that I want to recommend to you folks, well, I cannot recommend exactly where this is going to go, and while my crystal ball and my 8-ball are not finely tuned to accurately predict the future for me, what I will say is that for those of you that are active and here every day, you have a distinct advantage, because if you can be able to make sense of what's going on, you can remain nimble. And if we get volatility, which is anticipated in the Trump admin, you should be able to capitalize on that. So again, glass half full approach going into all of this. I am going to maintain that through as much as I can here. I know when the market starts selling off, which will happen eventually, I still want to maintain that positive attitude and the glass half full approach. We're going to be looking for things to take advantage of. Okay, DJT. So speaking, let's just get started with some of the stocks right away. DJT here. Really, really proud of our group to discuss DJT. The stock drops Tuesday in the pre-market, a day after the inauguration. So here's the thing about this. We talked about this being a potential trade. We talked about the Trump trade or the new administration trade or all of these different things. And one of the ones that we discussed was DJT. And one of the overarching themes that we kind of figured with some of this was that, hey, this might be a sell the news type thing. All right. This might be, it kind of trades up going into that. Yeah, I know 13 was given price targets here of 45. That really made sense, by the way. I didn't dispute that. And you can see over several sessions, maybe we did kind of trade up from 38 to near 43. But today we've kind of rolled back over and we've breached 38 to the downside. I will say I'm really proud of our group. We talked a lot about this being a sell the news event. It's my hope that if you did play this to the long side here, that you did so heeding our warning and you took the appropriate risk management to kind of negate this. I think DJT will be in play here today, but obviously, as you can see so far here, a sell the news event. What I'm curious for you folks is what levels do you have for DJT for dip buy? Meaning, if we continue to sell off here, what are some of the downside support levels where this stock could reverse? Those are going to be a couple of the things that I'm going to look for here today. I'll go ahead and give you a couple right off the bat. 34.5, maybe if you want to call it 34.5 to 35, that could make sense. A little bit beneath that, maybe 32-ish. Full disclosure here, we are just talking about DJT. I know that there was a ton of stuff going on with Trump coin and the Melania coin and all of that stuff. And I'll be honest with you, when I see stuff like that, the investor in me says, this is something that you don't want to participate in. If you folks participated in that, especially if you were able to make some money, great. Those are speculative assets. That's what that's for. But I'm sorry if I'm letting you down. I don't have any crazy analysis on the Trump or the Melania coin. Those are not, when I talk about Bitcoin and being bullish on Bitcoin, I'm not talking about some of those meme coins. I'm talking about some of the more well-known coins. Let's call them that. I watched a little bit of what was going on. I can't really draw any conclusions from that. If you folks want to have that discussion or tie some of those things together, I'd be willing to listen to that. But I haven't made any decisions or haven't taken any analysis from what happened with the two meme coins. DJT here, on the other hand, to be quite honest with you, this is behaving exactly as we expected. And we talked about that leading into the inauguration here. So, with that being said, I don't think this is done, and I would be entirely unsurprised if this thing had a volatile day here in either direction. That's ticker DJT. Okay, next here, let's talk about Bitcoin a little bit, and we're going to go through the angle here of MicroStrategy, because this is another thing that was going on with the news yesterday. With some of the swings in the Bitcoin market, from what I understand, again, I didn't make any trades based on the inauguration, so I can't speak for myself on this. I was a hodler all day yesterday. But what I can say is that it did seem like Bitcoin sold off. And when I looked into what people on the web were saying, it did seem that because Trump didn't have a bunch of executive actions or executive orders or day one mentions of crypto, that was viewed as kind of a bearish thing and the price moved down. Now, maybe that's not correct. That's certainly what I gathered from kind of poking around the internet yesterday. I would say that's a non-issue. I wouldn't trade on that. I think that there's, without a doubt, this is a bullish thing for crypto, as this administration seems to be much more friendly than the last one. CNBC had Brian Armstrong, I believe his name is, for the CEO from Coinbase on this morning. He was very excited about this. He maintains his bullishness. I think overall this is good for crypto. Now, looking at the MicroStrategy chart, this was actually down about 4% when I first woke up here in the pre-market. Again, I suspect because I think that the day one wasn't as focused on crypto as some of the crypto bros wanted it to be. Long term, I think this is a nothing issue. Short term, obviously, this created some volatility in Bitcoin. Volatility in Bitcoin is like the sun coming up every day. We should just kind of expect it. So no real big thing here. It did kind of break down. Looking at Bitcoin here, the Bitcoin futures price 105,045. This is 3,000 points up off the lows. So Bitcoin here firming up. If you take a look at the MicroStrategy chart, this is also firming up. Interesting thing to note, though, that pullback in the pre-market, it took us right to that 383.40 level that we have identified for months now at this point. Also, I think your head and shoulders formation that did end up sending MicroStrategy lower, I think that's probably over now. Don't necessarily want to call it invalidated because, frankly, it worked. If this is the right shoulder, we actually broke down here. That was 435 to 286. Not a bad movement. I think the head and shoulders did work, but this formation that we've kind of been watching, keeping an eye on, if you will, this sure seems to be over here today. So, or here now. So MicroStrategy, let's see if we trade back up. This thing has been great. Again, wild pre-market here, down 4%, down only just under 0.1% here. MicroStrategy actually looking to go red to green here in the pre-market. We'll see what that does for the rest of Bitcoin and how that holds up here today. Okay, the next thing is the TikTok ban. Yes, TikTok is just constantly in the news here. The amount of hand-wringing over TikTok and all of this stuff is, for me, I don't really know how else to say this, but for me, it is entirely comical. Content creators acting like they have some really terrible thing happening to them. Oh my God, that is a laugh riot, as they say. Sorry, needed some of that green tea right there. Trump suspends the U.S. TikTok ban for 75 days with an executive order, but legal and market uncertainty looms over the platform's future. So first thing that I want to clarify here right away, this is an extension. Executive orders cannot go against what actual law is. So what's going on here is not saying, oh yeah, it's fine, I write an executive order, TikTok's going to be fine. Instead, the ban is extended, or the suspension of the ban is extended. Again, the entire goal here is that clearly they're trying to get something. They're trying to get something in place to keep TikTok around. In fact, I don't have Truth Social, and I don't have like notifications on all of Trump's posts. Maybe I will need to do that at some point when he starts firing some stocks up. But for right now, I don't have that. I did see over the weekend, he said, quote, "We got to save TikTok," end quote. So take that for what it's worth. Sure seems like he's trying to do that. Now, as far as the story here that the producer is kind enough to throw here in the chat, a couple of things to take away from this. Number one, Meta created a new product called Edits, which is positioned to capture TikTok users. Now, will this work? Well, that's yet to be seen. Will this go the way of Threads, or will this go the way of Instagram? I think a lot depends on what happens with TikTok, but keep in mind, Meta here creating Edits that is positioned to take over for TikTok. One other thing, Perplexity, which is, of course, backed by Jeff Bezos, made a $50 billion bid to merge with TikTok. That hasn't happened, but obviously there's more interest there. And then the article also mentioned that Tesla could be an acquirer. We talked about that a little bit last week. I don't know if that would happen. To me, that sure feels like a little bit of a last resort almost. But I don't know. We'll see. That's another potential suitor. The big takeaway for me here is that there might be some headlines. There might be some back and forth. There might be some grandstanding, but at the end of the day, I really don't think TikTok is going anywhere. I think Trump is just trying to make a deal that is an America First deal. And obviously, TikTok has its own problems spying on on anyone who has it on their phone, or the potential of that. So we'll see how this shakes out here. Just wanted to clarify an extension of the ban. I think that's just out there just to get a deal done. So we'll see what ends up taking place with that. Meta, a possible beneficiary of that. We'll see what ends up happening. Okay, next here is going to be Intel, ticker INTC. And boy, oh boy, Intel has had a wild ride recently. We've talked a lot about this being, is it bottomed here in the high teens? A couple of us were waiting, I think, for 12 and 16 for some lower prints here if we ended up getting it. Sure doesn't look like we're going to get that. Sure looks like we have a quadruple bottom put in here at right around 19-ish. We have traded up off that bottom, and we tried to get above this 50-day converging with this 100-day. Got that value at 21.87, and the current price here in the pre-market is 22.05. So can we close above that level? That's going to be the big thing to watch here today. You do have one of these kind of consolidation areas up to about 23.75. So we can get above 24. Maybe this thing can really kind of turn around. Your 200-day is at 26. Intel stock gains on a speculative buyout offer. However, the details remain unclear. So, we talked a lot about some of these takeover targets, mergers and acquisitions, and all of that. So it looks like Intel, we had some rumors about that. Maybe there is a possible takeover here. Its price target this morning was lowered to 21 from 22 at Citi. You tell me if that's something that is a mover for you. Anyway, this is what's going on with Intel. There is speculation on a buyout. Will that materialize? What kind of premium would be paid? I'm certainly not positioned for this. I don't have any real kind of deep thoughts about this. I will think some more about this as we go on. But if you folks have any potential targets or anything like that, I'd love to hear about. I'd love to hear about that. I'd love to hear about what you think could happen to Intel, and then perhaps more importantly, what the time horizon is for that. Okay, Apple. Let's talk about Apple here real quick. Apple really weak here in the pre-market, down about 2%. What's going on, you ask? Well, they caught a downgrade. In fact, Apple is the only stock in the Mag 7 that's down here this morning. The rest of the market looking pretty good to kick off this golden age. Apple gets a rare downgrade from Jefferies. The analyst warns on slowing revenue growth, missed forecasts, and falling iPhone demand. Now, stop me if you've heard this before. A lot of them are channel checks, this and that. We're not going to be able to produce, blah, blah, blah. This is a little bit deeper here. Slowing revenue growth, missed forecast, and falling demand. Quote, could miss 5% revenue growth for the first quarter of 2025, end quote. So Apple here responding to that. We're going to take a look at the chart here. You can see Apple really had this pop above 233 recently. This pretty much started right after Thanksgiving. And by Thursday of last week, we gave back that entire bump. Now, some of the notable action here on Apple is when on the backside of this move, it did look like we held the 233 spot that we had identified, as well as that 100-day moving average as those converged right around that price. We did get what looked like a 2-day bounce, but we got a hard rejection at that 50-day moving average. I have that at 239.33 here. That sent us down to the support trend line that we've been observing since January of 2023. In fact, I think we named this trend line the 2023 trend line because Apple interacted with that so well and is still interacting with that. Well, now we've actually broken beneath that. I'll tell you what, the next move here for Apple, I would love, you guys know I've been a long-term holder for Apple. This is a stock that I actually agree with Jim Cramer. Stop the presses. You should hold it. Don't trade it. The stock has been an excellent hold for a while. And folks, starting to get a little excited here because it looks like we might be revisiting that 200-day. That would be great. Last time we came into the 200-day, or one of the last times that we came into the 200-day, right here, October of 2023, we broke it, we recaptured it in short order, and we went on a pretty decent run. This is 172.5 up to 199.5. We had a 27 27-point move in very, very short order. Let's see. That is going to account for nearly a 20% move in the price. 17.5% move, very, very short order. The last time, or one of the last times that we tested the 200-day. Once we rolled over from that strength, you can see it might be difficult to see because of my chart here. I'll try and zoom in, but bang, test. It actually took us 4 tries to break beneath it. When we broke beneath it, we actually back tested it to the upside. And then we spent from February of 2024 to May of 2024 under the 200-day. When we retook that 200-day, it was gangbusters. Not only did we go on a huge run, we actually pulled back in August towards that moving average, didn't even test it, and then went even higher from there. So the 200-day really comes into play here with Apple. It sure looks, especially given the action here in the pre-market, that it looks like we're going to hunt for this low, this 217.30. It's another 8 points from where we're at now. If we look inside here on Apple, sure looks like we're trying to test the pre-market low here. Maybe we break and move lower. So I'm not saying that this is a buy here today, but keep this on your watch list. Watch what this thing does around the 200-day moving average. If it loses it, that's fine. No reason to panic. Let's wait for that to kind of recapture, give us a trade setup. I'm definitely going to keep my eye on Apple here. And again, being a long-term holder, the long-term thesis here hasn't changed despite what this analyst is saying. So we are still in that position, looking to either add or trade around that core position when we get a setup. It's not often that Apple tests its 200-day, so I am going to highlight it when it happens. We'll see what happens here, or we'll see how this goes. It's also worth mentioning, I don't have any details on this yet. I'm sure we'll get them, but it's also worth keeping in mind. Trump has talked about this. Trump also mentioned a, quote, massive investment, end quote, for companies like Apple, great American companies. So I don't know what that's going to materialize in. We'll digest that news as it comes across the wire. What I'm waiting for right here, 200-day moving average. Let's see what happens. Okay. Also, it's January, so you know what that means. It's Davos time. All of those extremely wealthy folks are flying their private jets to Switzerland to enjoy some skiing, as well as some fireside chats. All of the stuff that's going on there. You folks already know the whole deal. Geopolitical stuff, climate stuff, cyber risks. But the thing that I want to focus on there is the AI mania, right? Because we've talked a lot about AI. We've seen a lot of moves in AI. We've talked about how AI is really kind of holding the market up, et cetera. All of that. So you would imagine that AI discussion out of Davos would be important. AI mania takes over Davos as the world's biggest firms tout their offerings. A poll from a consultancy Accenture, easy for me to say, out on Monday revealed that 58% of execs expect generative AI solutions to be adopted at scale within the organization in 2025. So again, that stat right there, 58% of execs expect generative AI solutions, that's things like Chat GPT, et cetera, to be adopted at scale within the organization in 2025. This is up from 37% in 2024. So that just means that the AI train is rolling downhill. It is like a wagon rolling downhill, picking up speed. We're seeing that in the stats here. So what are we going to see out of Davos? I would keep your eyes peeled for any types of AI conversations or AI announcements or AI types of discussions. This is one of the things I'm going to be looking at. I think not only is this going to affect some of the players that we're already familiar with and we're kind of already watching, but I actually think this might create some opportunity from some of the smaller AI names. We'll see if that ends up materializing. We do have a smaller AI name to talk about here in a little bit. Okay. Let's see, where are we at here? It is 8:29, so we are almost at T3 time. Really quickly, while we're waiting for that, as far as some of the Chinese EV stocks, we do have some news there. Tesla, and actually, I'll start here with Tesla. we'll bring up the Tesla chart. Tesla's Chinese rivals Li, Xpeng, and NIO surge, while Rivian declines in the pre-market as Trump revokes Biden's EV target. Okay, couple of things here. So first of all, Tesla, this is going to be something that we are going to talk about all the time. We're going to ask Red Dog about Tesla here. Clearly, this is going to be a hot topic during this entire administration, with Elon being, close to the president. So I suspect that we're going to see a lot here with Tesla, and we're going to be able to go into all of that as it comes. Rivian, on the other hand, man, oh man. Good morning, Anne-Marie. It's great to see you. We'll see you in a little bit. Thanks for the good luck. Really excited about our golden age here. Rivian, we'll move to that here real quick. Boy, oh boy, can this thing really? I feel bad for Rivian holders here, because I think that there's a good thesis here. I know that the truck is very, very well liked. I understand it myself. I mean, just kind of seeing it, I like it. 13 looks good. 13 looks like he will be joining us. I like the way the truck looks. It's not the company, the stock. It's not all that great. Company loses a ton of money. Here we go with the chart. You can see we are currently in a very obvious downtrend. This has been drawn since the July of 2023. I believe this was one of those, one of the investments that was made here. There have been several of them, but this thing really can't get out of its own way. And if you take a look recently, we traded back up to this trend line. We really couldn't hold above it. And more specifically, on Friday, we traded above this trend line, gave it all back. Now it looks like we're moving even lower here today on this news. Not great. Not great here. Some more stats from some of this. Li Auto had 9,500 insurance registrations in the period. This is up 25% from the week before. Xpeng also saw 9,400 insurance registrations, into the week, making a jump of 27% from the week before. So some of these Chinese stocks, these are actually doing much better than Rivian here today. And if we take a look at the chart, they actually look better on the chart as well. Here we go. You can see Li, this was actually testing its 200-day moving average. Well, the gap today takes us above the 200, the 50, the 20, and the 100. So pretty good stuff being done on the chart here with Li. We'll see if that holds up. And then some of the other names, XPEV also up here in the pre-market. So a lot of really good stuff there. And we'll see how that affects Tesla. We'll see what that means going forward. Again, there's going to be no shortage of trades with Tesla. That much I can promise you. Okay, folks, it is 8:32. It is Tuesday, which means it's a T3 Tuesday. And today we are going to bring on the man. We're going to bring on Red Dog. Put your hands together. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Red Dog, good morning, my man. Happy Tuesday. How you doing today?
I'm feeling good. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm feeling real good. Look, the couple of things we got to start off with here. First of all, congratulations. Looks like you were really rooting for the Buckeyes yesterday, and that was a hell of a game for Ohio State. So if you were, in fact, rooting for the Buckeyes, congratulations. The other question I got to ask you is, how's your rise and grind doing? What is today, day 16 of your push-up challenge? How was the cold plunge this morning?
My question is, how is it going for you? Did you join?
I did not do a cold plunge, but I was up at 4:45, rising and grinding, getting prepared for today, as I am every day.
All right, there you go. Did you do some push-ups?
I did not do push-ups yet today, no.
All right, well, you got to get started, my man.
I owe you. How many do I owe you?
This ain't a spectator sport, Ryan. Come on.
How many do I owe you, Red Dog? I'll give them to you today, and I'll even be ready the next time you join. I'll have them done already.
You got to do 5 to 6 minutes a day. Doesn't matter the amount. What I do is I do tribute to Rocky and Creed. There's a 6-minute video, and I do push-ups for 6 minutes, here, then I go wide, then I go together, then I rest, then I go here for 6 minutes. I listen to Rocky because I'm a nut like that. By the time it's all over, I'm done. I do it every single day. We're going to do it to Father's Day. I've been doing it with my son, Chase. He's building up his push-ups. It's a great way for you to hang out with your kid and do push-ups and feel good. And then the team that does the most push-ups come Father's Day, we're going to donate a bunch of money to charity, and everyone will be in great shape. So when you go to the beach in April, we're not fat daddies at the beach.
Okay, that's absolutely awesome. Red Dog, I'll tell you what. Right here, right now, my morning routine starting tomorrow morning is going to include push-ups, and I'll even give you some today to make sure I get those done here
There you
today.
go.
Absolutely love that, and love the idea that you have for giving some money away to a charity. Really good stuff.
Well, listen, we all got to do what we got to do.
Right.
What could be better than spending time with your kids, getting in shape, and giving money to charity? I'd rather give it to the charity than give it to the government and let them do it for me,
You
right?
got that right. Absolutely. All right, man. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on here. Obviously, the new golden age is what's being thrown around here in the news. But I got to ask you, given everything that's going on, new administration, new year, all this stuff, what are you seeing in the SPY? What's your outlook here for the S&P 500?
Well, the first 2 weeks were definitely a little choppy. So I like to trade in active sequences. I'm an active trader. That's how I go about my business for a living. And on Wednesday, I'm sure you know when the CPI came in light, we had a big gap and go, right? So let's go to Wednesday, Ryan. You could see that gap right there. That's what I call a pro gap. That to me could start a new active sequence in the market. I was pretty neutral going into the CPI.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I have a lot of calls, puts, some straddles, and
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even in the mood. So when we had that 10-point gap up on the CPI, I was a little upset, but the red dog mindset doesn't let you get upset. It says, what's the right
Damn right.
decision now? And the right decision was put on some risk versus 589. That's the low of Wednesday. If you put on some risk versus that low, it could have been the SPYs, it could have been the Qs, it could have been hopefully stocks showing some relative strength. From there till today, you've had a nice little move because the day after Wednesday, the market didn't fill that gap, right? On Thursday, you made a higher low in the SPYs, which you're pointing to really well right there.
Yep.
Maybe expand on that a little bit so they could see it a little clearer. And then, all of a sudden on Friday, we kind of took out the downtrend. There's a little downtrend in the SPYs. You could probably draw it, not really decisive, but why would anybody be so decisive before the inauguration? Some people thought they would sell the inauguration. Some, got short,
Yep.
whatever it is. Bottom line is the SPYs right now are up 250. We're up 25 handles. I came in with 15, actually about 14 longs and a bunch of options. Last Wednesday, I had none. So that's how fast you have to switch gears. That's why we get our mind ready for go time. So when the
Love it.
market tells us something changed, we change it. We don't second guess ourselves.
Absolutely love it. And so that's phenomenal. I will say, on Monday here, this candle that bottomed right here, what was the low that we had there? 575.35. I was watching that and I was watching the price action all day that day. And I said, you know what? It kind of feels based on the price action here that SPYs put in at least a near-term bottom. I think the next move is going to be higher. Look what we got. PPI the next day, the CPI gap that you're talking about on Wednesday, and now several handles higher here. Let me ask you, now that we're flirting with 600 here, what type of upside level do you see here as the potential resistance area?
Well, first is I guess we're right above Friday's high, which was 599.35. So usually with my sell rules, the first thing is can you get above and stay above? And right now we're opening above. So what I do is I've been trimming some things this morning. I'm not long the SPYs. I'm long Amazon. I'm long Tesla. I'm long
Awesome.
AVGO. I'm long Dash. I'm long HIMX. I'm long Rumble. I'm long ONON. I'm long a bunch of things. So what I do is I trim it to strength, and then I see what the composure of the day is. So at least I net some money, feel good, and then if things look like they're acting well, I might even get bigger than I was overnight. Usually, because intraday I like to be bigger, more control than what happens overnight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The futures were kind of nutty the last 48 hours. But anyway, so that's one spot, and then the next spot is what 602.48. That's the high. That was actually the high from December 26th. And then 609 is the all-time high. So at this point, I'm going to go day by day. If this market continues to act well, I'll add some positions. If all of a sudden we feel faultier, I'll take some all. But right now, I did come in with a lot of things, but I had a reason for all the things that I was in. As long as you have a reason for why you're in something, you could put it on long or short. If you don't have a reason for it, or the market doesn't confirm your reason, that's where your stop is, not about the money.
Awesome. Trade the lead up to and the aftermath of the Fed meeting with Scott Redler, totally free, January 27th to 31st. QR code on the screen. Link is in the chat. Red Dog, this is awesome stuff so far, but there's no way I can possibly talk to you without asking you about Tesla. So what are your thoughts? What are some of your levels here on Tesla, given everything that's going on with the new administration?
Well, Tesla was my best pre-election and post-election trade, and then you did
Yep.
have a red dog reversal if you go to December 18th.
Yes,
Look how
sir.
extended that was, December 18th. That's when I actually switched some gears. I'm like, we're a little extended. Let me let it rebuild. And it went through a rebuilding phase. I am long Tesla stock coming in today, and I
Mhm.
did trim some, already up 8, but I hold some and I trim some. I also have options on for this week. I was bigger in options just in case they did sell the inauguration. I didn't want to stop into this week and have a leg sweep. Um, but if you look at the levels here, you have 439.74. That is the high from Friday. Tesla right now is trading right around 435, so it's under that. Um, so we'll see what happens. Like it might open up 8 and go red. If it does, I sold some, and then I'll have to figure out what I want to do with the rest. If it all opens up and they hold and go, then that'll be good for my options for this week. I do think it's in the game. Last week was a little predatory. It was a little choppier than it's been. I did actually have a bad day last week in Tesla. On what was it? It was like January 14th. Just whatever, just didn't work out for me. Actually, no, it wasn't January 14th. It was January 16th when you closed strong, and then you had that inside candle that
Yeah.
was down a bunch and never went green. I added to it. I had too much size, so even a guy that trades for 30 years messes up, and I lost money that day. I lost probably more than I should have, but anyway, didn't stop me from getting back in it as it is above the 8 day, the 21 day. So to me, it has the benefit of the doubt. Besides, obviously, how close Elon is to Trump moving forward, so he should. Yeah, listen, he's gonna have some. He's gonna have some perks. Elon got him elected. He's the most powerful guy, even though
Yeah.
it's a little wacky. And I didn't really love that gesture, but we're gonna get away from that. But all in all, Tesla to me is glass half full versus glass half empty. If you wanted to have a stop in and you didn't want to trade it actively, I'd say you could put your stop in at 405, which is the low from January 15th on Tesla.
Okay. Real awesome stuff there on Tesla with you pretty much the entire way there. We'll see what Tesla does and what other opportunities Tesla sets up for us. Also wanted to ask you really quickly about Netflix. We've got earnings tonight here on Netflix. After the close, we're going to be covering that here on Benzinga, by the way. We're just shy of that 50-day moving average here on Netflix, but we're above this long-term trend line that we've had for some time. You got any levels or thoughts here on NFLX?
I do trade into earnings. I never take a stock into earnings if you trade actively for a living. So usually I do an option strategy because risk is premium paid. I will not be taking a Netflix option strategy. I haven't really been trading it that actively. It's always on my note. I always give levels. A lot of guys got out when it broke 915. When it broke 915 on December 30th, it kind of broke trend. It was in an awesome trend for most of 2024. I don't like the way it trades by appointment. Sometimes you feel like you're trapped. It feels one way for an hour, then it feels another way for an hour. And I'd rather just, put the levels in on the charts. And if people want to trade Netflix, they can. I do think there's a lot of competition out there, and I do think the valuation is kind of high. So for me,
Okay.
I don't have any FOMO in missing out on a move if it's going to take out the old highs of 941 to go towards 980 or something. If I were playing it, it's kind of decent that it pulled in off the highs. I would probably do some kind of call spread. I would do like a 940, 960 call spread. So if it gets above the all-time high and has a move, which you could kind of draw across from that December 11th high, that would be it. I might trade it after hours. I don't know. I'm going to look for the reaction tomorrow. Like if it has a blowout quarter and opens up
Yeah.
20 points and goes up 20 and goes red, that'll tell me a few of the things to look for during earnings season. Or if it's in line and they still sell it down and wasn't enough, even that it's not on the highs, I'll see how that reacts. But I'm not taking an option play into tonight. I don't have any. I don't. I just don't feel like doing it.
Yeah, if you don't have the edge, why do it? I think one of the things that stood out for me there is that you have a plan on multiple outcomes depending on what happens. So you're already thinking ahead. You're already putting yourself into that mindset. Absolutely love that. Okay, we'll close it out here with this. Do you have any earnings that you're looking forward to here this week?
This week, not really. I feel like the banks were great. I didn't really play them, but they gave you some confidence that, a group that was strong could open up and stay strong. They couldn't sell JP Morgan down. They couldn't sell Goldman Sachs down.
Yep.
Goldman Sachs, look at that pro earnings gap. This is a great strategy that a lot of people use. I'll fluff Trader Stewie's feathers. He has that pro earnings gap play where you could have bought, versus the low from earnings day and just put a swing on and made a nice play in Goldman Sachs. So it was good to see that they just didn't sell a good report. So that gives me some confidence that charts that are building that deliver, they can make a new move. if you wanted to ask me out of the Mag 7 names, which I think looks best, I think right now Amazon looks best. If you want to put that chart, we could leave
Sure.
them with that instead of leaving with an earnings play. Look at that nice tight chart, nice upper descending channel, nice upper flag. I'm long coming in today. I trimmed a little bit just because that's what I do. It was up 250, and I'm going to stay with it. That 233 is the December high, I would think, or I would make a pinky bet with you that out of all the Mag 7 names, that this probably will be the first one to make a new all-time high in 2025.
Okay, I'm with you there. The only thing that I think could give you a run for your money would be Meta, and that has to do with some of the TikTok stuff. We'll see. I like your Amazon call. I like Amazon the stock more than Meta, and I like Amazon the company more than Meta. So awesome. Okay, again.
But do you like Jeff's girlfriend?
Oh man, I didn't see that question coming. I'll punt on that. I'll say this. I want to know what Priscilla's opinion of Jeff's girlfriend is. How about that? We'll see what looks like. Mark got caught.
He did get caught.
He got caught glancing at the sun. You got to take a quick look and look away. Seinfeld taught us that decades ago. All right, real quick here. Trade with Scott. Trade the lead up to and the aftermath of the Fed meeting with Scott Redler, totally free, January 27th through the 31st. QR code on the screen. Link is in the chat. Red Dog, can't thank you enough for the time that you give us here. Rise and grind, baby. I promise I will join you on those push-ups tomorrow. Keep it going. Keep setting a positive model for our community here.
Listen, I try. Listen, we can only control what we can control, and that's our own actions. It's our own habits. And once you make your habits make you. So if you want to get change, or you want to change in 2025, what do you have to do? Got to make some changes.
Really, really well said. Red Dog, again, thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of your week. All right, boss?
You too, my friend. Be well.
Take care. That is Scott Redler from T3 Trading. I've been following him for a long time. I will say, we just changed the morning routine here. We just changed it. There's no reason why I can't get push-ups done every single morning. That's a really great suggestion. We're going to start that here tomorrow. So awesome stuff there, folks. Again, be sure to check out T3. A bunch of great traders over there. And if you don't follow Scott on Twitter, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go ahead and do that. He's the man. All right. Anne-Marie Band, wonderful as always. Scott is wonderful indeed. Dude is getting it done. So, all right. Scott's departure leaves room for 13. So you know what that means. Time to bring him on. 13. Happy Tuesday, my man. How are you doing here today?
I am just trying to stay warm. We are experiencing some snowy weather out here in Houston area of Texas. Haven't had this much snowfall since last I recall was 2017.
Okay, so y'all out in Texas not sure what to do with the snow.
We learned. We learned.
Well, first of all, a couple of things here. First of all, as mentioned, I'm glad that your power's on, and I'm glad that you're here to join us. You look warm in that house with that cup of coffee right there. Second of all, I do have the smallest violin here for you. It's -8 here today. No snow, unfortunately, but absolutely frigid temps here in Chicago. When I did my run yesterday for MLK Day, the wind chill was -11. I had to put on a full balaclava to get out there, but I got out there. So we got that done, and we're going to do it again here today.
I sent you some pictures for your viewing pleasure, so you can check out what the snowfall is like here. It's just coming down right now as I look out the window. Looks like a nice flurry. But anyway, let's talk markets. How about that?
Yeah, no, looks awesome. I don't know what to say. I love the snow. Absolutely love it. So extremely excited for you. Okay. Couple of things here. So first of all, we did have a very busy morning. Obviously we're now, I'm sure you've heard, we're now in the golden age. I did run down a whole bunch of news that we got here from today. We did talk a little bit about Netflix, who's going to report earnings here today. The one thing that I did not cover that I wanted to cover, and mostly because our producer is just an absolute G, is going to be the story here regarding Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, you heard me right. Nancy Pelosi, not Nancy Pelosi. What an amazing nickname. Can't believe that I'm behind the curve on that one. Nancy Pelosi trades. Nancy Pelosi sells NVIDIA and Apple and loads up on Google parent Alphabet and Amazon calls. Also bought ticker TEM. So I saw someone mention this earlier here today. We're going to discuss this in the movers. TEM is Tempest AI. Stock was $35 last week, gapping up here to 41.61 in the pre-market. So Nancy is still making some waves here. Sold Apple, sold Nvidia. Of course, we had an Apple downgrade here today. Is that a coincidence? I'll let you folks figure that one out. So there you go. If you're following Pelosi, if you're, or Pelosi, excuse me, if that's part of your trade plan here, that is minus Apple, minus Nvidia, plus Google, plus Amazon. Red Dog just told you he absolutely likes Amazon there and says that's one of the best positioned Mag 7 stocks to go here. So, okay. Had to get that out of the way. We can do earnings from this morning. We can do movers. We can go wherever you want. 13. What do you want to do next?
I mean, there's going to be a lot to talk about, including some of the things that Trump gave us to look at today, like the whole prison theme that we were talking about, or the space stocks. I mean, you know, when he starts, I mean, he's going to be one of these buzzword presidents. Word comes out of his mouth, any stock associated with that will move. That's just how it's going to be. So I hope everybody's buckled in, because it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah. And I mean, we should be ready for that, right? We should absolutely be ready for that. We saw that the last time around. We're going to learn from what we saw the last time around and apply it this time around. So actually, I do think there was news. Speaking of space stocks, which you just mentioned there, here's Rocket Lab. I think we did have some news. Yeah. So yesterday we had a price target raise to 35 from 22 from Citi. Rocket Lab up almost 8% here in the pre-market, up just shy of $2.
Yeah, I cannot pound the table harder on the whole space theme. And you already have Trump, you know, talking about we're going to space, drill baby drill. I think that's where we're seeing some of these energy names, these obscure ones move. But the aside from
down 2.5% here this morning on that, by the way, as well.
Aside from him, you know, just saying that we're going back to space, we're going to Mars. We've already looked at space as being a theme for 2025, with all the different countries and companies joining the race and trying to put up their own set of products into orbit. So it's going to be very, very busy for space stocks this year, I anticipate.
Okay.
We can
start. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go?
Let's do some movers if you want. We can get through that, and we can start having another conversation about these other names that Trump could get to move.
Yep, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to flip over to my movers workspace here in Benzinga Pro. We're going to take a look at what's gapping up. If we run out of time, we can also look at stuff that is gapping down. We can also take tickers from the things that you want to look at here. First one on the list that I have here is going to be ASST. So this looks like this was a 50-cent stock last week. Looks like we just traded above $1.20 here. I did not have this on my list. I got no fresh news in here. So looks like this stock up 139% on 71 million shares of volume. The average is 3 million, so way over the average. Really kind of negligible short interest in here. Don't really see much insider transactions. Float right in our wheelhouse, 7.39 million. 13, I don't see much going on here. Do you have anything on this?
I had to, well, as soon as I read the company description, I knew exactly what was happening here. This is a company that makes its money by providing social media marketing content across services like TikTok. So now that they have TikTok getting a pause on the ban for 75 days, that's potentially good for this company, because part of their business is now, you know, allowed to continue. So that's why I think this is moving. Yeah, a no news thing. I think all we had to do was just look and see what they do, and it's like I think it became pretty clear to me that this is moving on the TikTok pause of their ban. Company does need cash. They did do a reverse split last July, so I don't think there's any relevance there. But the company does need some capital, so this movement may prompt them to do some kind of offering. So I think this is just one that we're gonna have to be careful with a lot of these, but this is one that does not have a great cash position. So I would expect them to do some kind of financing or capital raising.
Yeah, that sounds really good. And, you know, I'm just kind of like looking over the list here, just giving it a brief scan. I think I would probably, we got plenty of targets here today. I think I'd probably avoid this given that stuff that you just mentioned. They're really good stuff. Something here I did want to mention just because you mentioned it. Robert, first of all, good morning, Robert. Great to have you back. Hope you're well. I'll welcome anything to warm things up. It's 29 below right now with the wind. 29 below. Okay, you've got me beat. You're the first person so far. It's got me beat. Fairchild minus 18 pre-wind. Okay, you've got me beat by 9 degrees, Fairchild. It's cold. It's cold. And stay focused. Good morning. It's great to see you. Welcome to the new golden age. Indeed. Indeed. Okay, next here on the list. Sorry, I got distracted there by all the talk about the cold and all the really good stuff. Next here on the list, HSDT. This is, of course, Helios Medical Technologies. Look, we've traded this one before. You folks should recognize this ticker. It enrolled 128 participants as of December 31st in Stoke pivotal study, exceeding the initial target here. So looks like some pretty good data. Stocks up 88% here. Looks like we actually just took out the initial pre-market high that we made earlier this morning. Looks like we're still trapped under 150. What do you make here, HSDT?
The enrollment thing isn't necessarily the big point here. I think it's the willingness for participation, because this is for a device, a medical device that I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it's supposed to help either, I think, treat strokes or assist with them. I don't know how the device works, but it's supposed to be for that, for strokes. And I think because of the number, the willingness exceeded their target enrollment. I think that's the bigger news. Not necessarily that they got more participants, but that there's such a demand for this type of technology to help treat strokes. I think that's the bigger takeaway here.
Okay.
The company does have, because it's one of those like, hey, we just filed for a patent kind of thing. That's the way I looked at this. But
sure.
I think the willingness to enroll is the bigger picture here. 3.68 million shares in the float. They have about a quarter of cash, so they are going to need to raise some capital. But we did discuss how medical devices could be a pretty good theme in 2025. So this one may actually be pretty good, but the cash position doesn't look great. So I would expect that some kind of capital raise would be happening here soon, especially if they have an enrollment for testing their device. So going through some trials here soon, it seems.
Okay, really good stuff there, Chris. Not wasting any time and not waiting for the opening bell. I've been in and out of HSDT 4 times already this morning, and Chris is also telling you I can't wait to short it later this morning. So it looks like Chris also looking for a pullback here off this 80+% move here in the pre-market. Really good stuff, group. Looks like you guys are either already hitting it or setting up a trade for later today. Awesome stuff. Okay, next on the list here, EONR and 13. I don't know about you, but I didn't have any news on this one.
I did.
You did?
The news was drill, baby, drill.
Okay, fair enough. So looks like another kind of relationship here. EONR, this was up 55% earlier. It's come back in. We actually lost the VWAP here. Real quickly, and again, just to kind of confirm here, didn't really see anything. Didn't really see anything here newsworthy, but that connection that you just made there, real good. EON Resources is an independent upstream energy company focused on maximizing total returns to its shareholders through the development of onshore oil and natural gas properties in the United States. So bingo, 13, you hit it here. Quick look around the horn, 1.7% short interest, really not a whole lot there, some, but fairly negligible. 5.66 million shares in the float. This is right in that range that seems to do very well for us. And did see an insider buy back in December 17th of 2024. We have a recent sell here. Not taking too much from that. 13. What do you make of this one? Ticker EONR.
It's just moving because it had very low float, and it was in the right theme. It was the right stock to move when Trump said he wanted to drill. So,
and just to kind of pause you there, this is one of the things that you were talking about earlier about he's going to talk, he's going to be boisterous, he's going to say some things, and that's going to make things in the market move. Now, this is a really good example because while I didn't directly mention this company, you've been able to kind of tie that movement to something that he said.
I'm actually going to start paying attention to his gestures and see if we get more movement out of when he says
you're going to be
like,
a busy man.
When he says something like this versus something like that. So this might get a stock to run more than that. I'm trying to figure out if that's the case.
We'll man.
See. But anyway, EONR, Yeah, moving on his comments, the company still does need cash. They'll have to do a capital raise. They might get an opportunity today, but like I said, with some of these, I don't know when they're going to do that. It just, if they do an at the money offering, then they're going to have a really bad intraday plunge. So just be careful with some of these, because these don't have a whole lot of money on their balance sheet, and they will need to raise it somehow.
Okay, real good stuff there. EONR. All right, let's see. What do we have next here? ASST, we did that. Okay, next that I have on the list here is going to be INM. Okay, this is ticker INM. Actually, looks like this started running a little bit later here in the pre-market. InMed pharmaceutical shares are trading higher after the company announced that INM 901 reduced Alzheimer's related inflammation in a preclinical study. Okay, first of all, the first thing to note here, anytime that we see positive Alzheimer's data, even if it's very early on, this is the reaction that it causes almost all the time. Really, really terrible disease. So anytime we get really good news about that, you should expect some of these things to move. It looks like that's what we got here. We popped from about $5 up to $9+. Since then, we've come back in here. We're holding 7. We're actually below the VWAP here, 775. I didn't look into the study itself, 13, but 1.29% of the float shorted here. 720,000 shares in the float. Really, really low float. What do you make of this?
I didn't dive too deep into this one, but I bet if we went to their website and we started looking around, we might find some better dates as to when this actual clinical trial will start. These are preclinical results. So they do have enough cash to get started for phase 1, but I imagine they'll have to do a capital raise again at some point soon if they're going to continue with this clinical trial. Mm-hmm. So $5.5 million in the bank. They burn roughly $1 million. So as far as this one goes, it should be a pretty easy one to move. As a matter of fact, I should just look at this one for levels, because the way that the low float structure is going to allow this one to get pushed around pretty easily, but also it's going to make it so it's very easy to drop as well. Yeah. This one looks like it's trying to curl back up to its VWAP, and we've got 29 minutes until we open, so it has plenty of time to try and get back up to VWAP and maybe even push over it. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with these. This is something that we would want to wait for with some of these, just kind of see what they're doing. If they have a setup in pre-market, they're likely going to start moving up into the pre-market ahead of the open, when they could end up falling after the open. So just keep that in mind with some of these.
Yes, one of the things that I'd be watching here level-wise, obviously 650 going to be one of the downside levels that I really don't want this to crack and lose. Part of what you were just explaining there with the low float, we're expecting to see some pretty violent moves in both directions here. So I'd be kind of trading this against 650. I'd love to see a recapture of the VWAP. Let's shoot us higher here. I do think that it should run into some resistance here around 850. Honestly, I wouldn't be terribly shocked. I know we punched above that, and we punched above 9 earlier, but I wouldn't be terribly shocked if we ran into some resistance here around 850. Let's see what happens if we take out 775. Love this, 13. Anything else you have on INM before we move on?
Nope, let's move on.
Let's move on. Next I have here, it actually looks like this is changing around the order here. Next one I have here is ticker VATE. This is Innovate. Looks like we did have some news here from Friday. Innovate shares are trading higher after the company announced on Friday that it received FDA approval for its TGFR system for accurate kidney functioning testing. Looks like on Friday in the after hours, we did find some resistance here at 850. Now, we dropped out of the pre-market here. We gave up about $2 of that, but we are trading back higher here. And actually, the volume has picked up later on here in the pre-market. I want to see what happens at 750. Just recently, we kind of used that as resistance here. So let's see if we can get above 750. I do think 8 would be a level in here. There does seem to be a little bit of consolidation here between 810 and 825. Then maybe you have that high, that pre-market high here, 891. Real quick look around the horn here. Short interest, almost 5%. So this is actually a little bit higher than some of the other ones that we've seen here today. And the float structure here, 6.08 million shares in the float. 13, what do you make of this one?
This is weird. I want to say that we've traded this one before because I thought we had a company like this come across our scanner one day last year. But this is a company that's involved in construction and engineering, but they have a couple of segments. They have, that segment, which is, mostly industrial construction and fabrication and things like that. Then they have a life sciences segment, which is where this data comes from. So I don't know how much that's going to really move this, because it's only part of their part of their company that's reporting this. I mean, how's their steel business doing? I don't know. I'm just a little bit weirded out by how different the two segments of this company are. But we've seen this before. Float just a little over 6 million, so it could still move pretty well, but has plenty of cash. At least several quarters if they keep losing money the way they did last quarter, but they don't always lose money. So yeah, I don't really know. I think this one is just one to not worry about the financial position so much and just focus on the technicals.
Okay. And actually, one of the things that I'm seeing here, at least in the pre-market here, pretty good, right? This thing was, I know, holding lower from where we were on Friday, but as soon as the volume stepped in, it actually kicked us a little bit higher. See if we hold on to some of those key levels. VWAP here, 694. Would really want to see this hold on to 7 here prior to the open, and then see what we do from there. So VATE, we'll be watching this one. Yeah.
860. You see that movement we had on Friday in the after hours. We trying to push over 860, got as high as 862, but it came right back in. Maybe it's probably more like 850 is the big number it was trying to get over. But yeah. I'd say somewhere around there. If we continue to trade up in the pre-market like we're still doing, that would be a resistance area. Now, if we get past that, we could see this thing really move. But okay. I would just pay attention to what the volume's telling you, and keep an eye on the 850 breakout level. Okay.
Real good stuff there. Jay Wild, good morning. Great to have you join us here. Damn, it's cold, Burr. Oh, yeah. How cold is it where you are? -9 by me. Looks like Amanda said it was -22. We had -19 for Robert. Where are you at, Jay? Stay warm. I'll tell you what we're going to do here. We're going to take the Scott Redler mentality of rise and grind, and we are just going to attack the cold. All right. We are not going to let it bother us. We are going to remain focused here, and we are going to attack the cold here today. All right. Next on the list. Let's see. I know this is shifting around on me. Next on the list that I have here, TPET, TPET. This is one that we've traded here before. Okay, this was about $1.80 on Friday. This did pop as high as $3.20 here today, although we've come back in towards $2.40 here. We're actually below the VWAP at $2.68. I didn't see any news on this when I checked earlier, and lo and behold, still no fresh news here. The most recent thing that we have was some insider transactions and a repayment of a convertible note, but that was from Thursday of last week. To be honest, I'm not sure that has anything to do with what's going on today. Volume pop earlier this pre-market. Looks like it's just technicals here today. Short interest, 8.5%. So again, a little bit higher, but nothing really jumping off the page in terms of high short interest here today. Quick look at the float, 3.41 million shares in the float here. This one right in kind of our wheelhouse. What do you make TPET?
This is a California-focused oil and gas exploration and development company. It is a drill, baby, drill theme. But, with everybody's talk about how cold it is, I also think that we're getting a lot of natural gas movement because of that as well. I mean, it seems like a good portion of the nation's getting snow and frigid temperatures. So I think it's a little bit of both. And that's why we're getting this movement here. Didn't cover this one, but financials don't look great. Looks like they're going to have to do a capital raise as well. Let's see here. They did an offering last year in August, and they also did a reverse split, a 1-for-20 in the middle of November. So pretty recently on that. Other than that, I don't have anything else, except we should just probably follow the technicals on this one as well, because it is within that drill baby drill and man it's cold theme.
Yeah, I like that, the drill baby drill and man it's cold theme. We'll deal with that. Izzy saying Michigan -5. Sideshow is out here trying to get I don't know what you call it, props from somebody. I don't know. Sideshow, nobody here really cares about the 85 degrees in Puerto Rico or the Dominican or wherever vacation spot you're enjoying it from. We're back here in the States attacking the cold. Even my southern friends are dealing with the cold here. So the theme here is Burr, it's cold, and we are going to attack it together. Together. Oh, man, it is going to be absolutely awesome. We're going to keep doing that here. Okay, next on the list is going to be LEDs. This is semi-LEDs. This is popping here. Actually, some pretty good volume. We've traded this one before. This one has come off of the scanner a whole bunch. Did have some news here from Friday the 17th. Be issued a patent number on Tuesday titled Light Emitting Diode Structure Having Single epitaxial structure separated into light emitting zones. I don't know if that's really supposed to be moving the stock. Stock is up 30% here. Again, we should be familiar with this one. We've traded this one before. Quick look around the horn here. Negligible amount of short interest on this. And the float here, 3.36 million. So 13. What do you make here of LEDs, LED company?
I want to think that this the patent that they have here is for a type of holographic projection. It just to me, when I read it, that's the first thing that comes to my head. I could be completely wrong about that, but that's just the way it reads in my head. I don't know anything about this company. 3.3 million shares in the float. Cash position doesn't look too great. Looks like they can survive for another couple of quarters at the most. Looks like they did a reverse split a long time ago, almost 10 years ago, 9 years actually now. Other than that, I don't see no offerings. I don't see anything else about this company. Looks like it's trying to come off of that that bearish looking run at this. I mean, it had a great run, but it looks pretty bearish with all the upper shadows. So it might be coming back in. If this does come back in the pre-market here, let's look for a bottom and see if we can get a rebound out of the open.
I currently have 213 as the VWAP, and so far it looks like it's holding that price right here. Again, the only thing that I recognize from this is that we've traded this before. We know that this thing can make some moves. We know that this thing trades with the technicals, and frankly, looking at the intraday chart here, it's showing you exactly that. Okay, really quickly here, Yasso Fine. Good morning, welcome Yasso Fine, saying it's snowing here in Houston, Texas. So we were just talking about. I was gonna say 13 already confirmed that 13. Here we go.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's my street right now.
Snow in Texas. Let's go. Yeah, so fine. We can confirm your report here today, boss. Absolutely. Okay. Like I said, we are going to fight it. We're going to have a great time. Okay. LEDs, that's on there. Let's see. DWTX looks like this just changed here. I didn't have any news on this. I have in our cold theme, let's call this the ski slope formation, where it just continues to go down here like a ski slope. DWTX, Dogwood Therapeutics here. I didn't see any news on this earlier. I Ryan, English, just speak it. It's not hard. I still don't have any news here on DWTX. Let's take a quick look around the horn. Pretty much nothing in terms of short interest here. Float 1.28 million shares. What do you got on this one? I don't know that I've ever seen this on the scanner, and I certainly don't think I've ever traded this name.
I don't see any reason why this is moving. I don't think this is a medical device company. This looks like more of some kind of treatment. For viral treatments. I'm not exactly sure why it's running. It could just be because it's got a very low float, and some of these other medical names or company are moving. I don't have any good reason why this is going. So sorry, I can't find anything on that. Just looking at it here. Float 1.28 million. Cash position. They have 2 million in the bank, but they burn more than that a quarter. So guess what? They're going to have to raise capital as well. And let's see what they've done as far as splits. No splits that I can find. No offerings that I can find. Is this company that old? Not sure.
Sorry, I don't know off the top of my head. Oh, let's see here. Oh, it used to be Virios Therapeutics.
Oh.
And I can't recall, but that sounds familiar. But you know what? That's really going to kind of mess up how long the company has been in business. Used to be Virios Therapeutics, and I think it had a different ticker too. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that's why.
Folks in chat are bringing up some names that we should probably get to at some point.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, this was ticker VIRI. That's what it was. Oh, okay, we did it. This was VIRI. Now it is DWTX, or at least that's what the company was. Yeah, I don't have a V. Oh, that was W. Hang on, VIRI. Yep, don't have a tickle. Oh man, we are starting Tuesday off correctly this week, folks. That is okay. Don't have a ticker for Viri. It looks like that is now DWTX.
Not forgetting that one.
Oh no. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if someone clipped that and wouldn't let me live that one down. I would not even be shocked at all, but it's okay because the Bears signed Ben Johnson. We'll get to that some other time. Okay, real quickly here, I did want to catch something regarding Costco. I'm seeing a bunch of mention here. 13, after we talk about Costco, we can go any direction we want. Still got 15 minutes. We can keep doing movers. We can do tickers from the chat, all of that. Let's talk about Costco here, and I'll give you my opinion on what's going on here. Costco currently up 0.2%, 0.19%, almost 0.2 here in the pre-market on extremely light volume. Okay, so there's not a whole lot that we want to take away from that. As far as it goes for Costco here on Sunday, right? Or was that Sunday or was that Saturday? I think it was Sunday. In the newsfeed here on Sunday, Costco Teamsters vote to authorize a U.S.-wide strike. Now, a couple of things here. It looks like someone was mentioning this earlier. Someone asked, Robert said, did you cover Costco yet? I heard there's a strike, and I only get my Costco news from Ryan. Okay. Smart, Robert. And very astute of you. Yes, it looks like that's the case. Based on the news here, the Teamsters vote to authorize U.S.-wide strike. Now, here's what I'll say about this. I could be totally wrong. And I tell you what, Robert, what I will do for you is I will actually, next week when I go, I will ask. I will do some more digging and see what I can uncover here. But what I am happy to report is that when I went this week, nobody mentioned that. And I will say, I generally chat up the Costco employees. The Costco I go to, I'm on a first name basis with several of them. We often chit chat about what's going on. This can actually be really helpful because sometimes they recommend products that I didn't see that end up being amazing, but that's neither here nor there. They often talk to me about the buzz, what's going on with the company, this, that, and the other thing. I've asked them about the hot dog deal when that news made the rounds a year ago or years ago, whatever that was. And nobody mentioned this at all. So I got to think, at least so far, there's really nothing that we can really kind of take away from this. I certainly don't think that this is going to be a net negative for the stock until we get more information about it. I will try and do some digging for you. But I'll tell you what, given where it's at here in the pre-market, albeit light volume, this thing is not breaking down at all. In fact, it's actually a little bit green here.
So a couple things on Costco. You look at a daily chart and you see that it has been trying to recapture the 50-day SMA to not the greatest result. Actually, on the 10th of January was a big rejection that sent it lower. I would think that the 50-day SMA also pushes the price back down as well. Now, the thing about that strike, that's not going to happen until February 1st, because January 31st is when the contracts expire that are causing the strikes in question. So once that event happens, February 1st, the strike will begin. Then we could probably see this stock come down a little bit more unless something gets resolved prior to then.
Okay. And then, like I said, I will do some digging. I will ask, because those employees that are involved in this, they generally have some insight. And in some cases, they're not afraid to share it with me. Nobody did. I'll do some more digging. Also, one more thing to keep in mind for Costco here. Here's a look at the daily chart. We drew a potential head and shoulders here. And I'll be honest with you, if Costco continues to trade higher here, maybe if it even takes out this 50-day moving average, got that at 948.49, current price at 944.99. If we take out that 50-day moving average and move higher here, that will completely invalidate this head and shoulders formation that we've drawn here. So this is definitely something to see. I will try and do some more boots on the ground due diligence for you. 13, appreciate the insight there with the date on how that all goes. And we'll see if the way I look at this is if Costco sells off, maybe that presents a buying opportunity for us.
Hopefully.
Hopefully is right.
I wanted to come down so I can pick it up at a discount.
Yeah, no question. Okay, so that was Costco from the chat here. Jay Rice, good morning. It's great to see you. How cold is it in Arizona, Jay? Just kidding. Okay, anyway, Jay's asking, did you guys cover FTAI yet? No, I haven't, and I really wanted to. Do you want to do that? Was there another stock that you wanted to go through, 13? Did you want to do any more of these off the mover?
The only two that I wanted to really get to is what I've been getting asked about, which was NAK and VSAT.
Okay, let's do those, and then we'll do FTAI after that, Jay. We'll let that price kind of settle out there. So which one do you want to do for VSAT? Or
let's start with NAK, because I think this one last week when we were talking about supply chains and mineral prices, this was one that was brought up. I don't remember if I mentioned this first or if somebody else did, but somebody was getting, somebody in the chat was saying that, Sideshow saying that I mentioned this last week. Because I remember mentioning this one, and I think I also mentioned MP Materials, just a handful of some of the names that I'm familiar with in the basic materials segment. So as far as this one goes, it seems like we've got a good move to the upside here. We could break over this high from January 3rd. It wouldn't be an all-time high. If we do see some movement up over the coming days, I think that we might be able to get over $1, but not too much higher. I have a trend line here that I drew. You might also have it as well if you go into your. No, you don't.
No, you know what though? I might have done this on my other chart. Let me take a look here real quick.
Okay. And we can also redraw.
No, I didn't.
We can also redraw it too.
Oh, yes. I beg your pardon. No, yes, I did. I thought so. This sounded familiar. Damn.
Yeah. So there, it must have been Roaring Mouse because he called out Knack on Friday. So it must have been him. But we took a look at this one. We drew trend lines like this. So that trend line, that's going to be where I would think we could see the price run up to. Whether or not it breaks over that, which eventually could happen, I don't know if it's going to do that. I would say at this stage, probably not, because we're we're getting close to overbought in this company on the daily. 67 over 67 RSI already. So getting up to that trend line would put us into overbought territory. But that's where I would see that's where I'd expect the upside movement to go. Looks like you got more resistance around 115. So that might be where it ends up topping out before it reverses, and before it hits the trend line and reverses. But I think a lot of this move has already happened in NAK. Could still push a little bit higher, but I just don't know exactly how much higher because we're pretty extended on the daily.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. You guys were talking about this on Friday for a potential trade for the inauguration on Monday. I'm looking at this 64 cents, all you could buy on Friday. Here we are, 74 bid this morning. I mean, that's 10 cents on a penny stock. That's not, what are we at percentage? That's almost 17% here. This is a really good trade.
Yeah.
So, you know what? We're going to start. Look, I told you we were going to start the golden age off with a glass half full positive. We're going to start with the positives here. Way to go on ticker NAK. By the way, real quickly, just kind of going back to Costco, David Lynn sharing perhaps one of the best tips that I ever learned being a Costco shopper. Watch cost, because when the price has the little asterisk next to it on the tag, he says this is the time to buy. That's correct. What this actually means is that this is the lowest price that Costco is going to offer. And when they're out of this item, they're not getting it back. So that asterisk tip that David is giving you, I use this all of the time. All of the time. This is where you can get some of your best deals. David, shout out to you. That is a pro tip. You know what you're doing, it turns out. Okay, what was the next stock that you want to take a look at?
This was VSAT. And tell me if you remember this one. This was one that Andy brought up to us a while back.
Oh, yeah.
This was, when we were discussing the space theme, I think just after it started to get going, and he brought this to my attention, and I looked at it and I thought, okay, so this is one that's going to have an announcement about their launch. They have a launch coming up this year. And I think that's what could finally get us to get back over 10 and start pushing us up. Because it's been a bit of a consolidation, mostly between $9 and $10 since about November. So that consolidation, I felt like this was kind of like a bottoming out, and it was just waiting for some news that would help push it back up. I was talking about how I think that announcement of a more specific date might do it. Well, it's moving up today, not necessarily on that, but because it received a contract from NASA for near satellites, just like the ones that Lunar is getting. Mm-hmm. So Lunar and VSAT now both getting these near satellite contracts from NASA. That's causing this to move. I'd expect this to try and breach the $10 level at some point today. The only issue is that the float is quite large compared to the other ones that we've looked at. So that's the thing that's going to make it so that it goes, well, maybe we don't see that exact movement. But then you look at the short interest and you're like, well, maybe it could. So it's just, I think this is going to be the day where we need to see if it's going to actually break over 10 and run, because it could. But I still think it needs, that launch date clarified in order for it to really get going. That would be my thought here. But this could still move it. So hopefully this finally is the one, because this has been lagging in the space theme list that I have. Mm-hmm. This is one of the biggest laggards in those in that whole basket of stocks that I've been taking a look at. So just kind of waiting for some more news on this. This is really good news. I'd expect this to start moving. Hopefully we get it over 10 today.
Okay, and there we go. Maybe the bottom has been put in here, right? Looks like we had that bottom print here, 6 and change, 670. Looks to be that low print back from the end of November. Maybe the bottom is in, and now we can start turning back up towards some of these moving averages and hold above it. All right, thank you, producer. Be sure to vote in our poll that is running here on YouTube. Appreciate you. Okay, what is the next thing that you want to cover?
We're going to get into some tickers that somebody wanted to look at.
I think didn't we hit those?
No, we hit mine first.
Oh gosh, now you're putting me on this. Oh, it was FTAI. It was the one that Jay Rice mentioned. It was the one that Jay Rice mentioned. Okay, FTAI. So we talked about this last week. A lot of action with the short sellers last week. Of course, they had the short report. There was a 30-point bounce the day of the short report. We talked about trading that the day after. I actually did take some what were called on Thursday. I took I think I like the way Chris mentioned. He called them throwaway calls. Took some more calls for a bounce here. I took short dated ones that expire at the end of the week. It was either going to keep bouncing or it wasn't going to keep bouncing. You can see that did not materialize. But today we actually got another piece of news here. FTAI, you can see down 22% here. FTAI aviation shares are trading lower after the company announced it may delay its fiscal year 24 10K filing. So the short reporters hitting it again. Looks like news here, delayed 10K. That would absolutely account for the move here in the stock. This is now in an 80 handle. When we were trading this last week, this was 120 handle, down another 40 points here. FTAI going lower. So here's the $64,000 question. We asked the same thing when we talked about SMCI. We talk a lot about the same thing when we talk about some of these stocks that have short reports come out and hit pieces come out after them. Is this buyable? Is this move down buyable? I'll start. 13, I'm going to adopt the exact same policy we did for SMCI. To me, to 10K, nope, this to me is just to stay away. I tried trading this last week. I use options to define my risk ahead of time. It ended up not working. No harm, no foul. Move on to the next one. I don't think this is a great buy here today. Am I wrong or am I right?
I wouldn't buy it.
There you go. I love, so you are unfazed by how I try to set some of these questions up here. You refuse to answer that, which was the right, smart thing to do. I'm with you though. I just wouldn't buy this. I want to hear for any of you that make a case here. I definitely want to hear the other side of it. But given what we saw with SMCI, given the importance of the delayed 10K, to me this is a no touch.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to 70. That's where I would think it gets better support down to the 500-day SMA. 70 looks pretty good. There's a little consolidation area back from March and April of last year. So 70 looks pretty good to me if we continue to fall further, which I expect we will.
Okay. Nick here is saying, this is how ATAI took my money. I think the call buyers for short reports require waiting much longer than a week or two. Okay. So Nick is actually bringing up a really good point here. I'm going to push back a little bit, and then I'm going to kind of redefine what Nick is saying, because I think at the crux of what he's saying here, he's exactly right. First of all, you'll notice that the day the short report came out, and we see this a lot on these short reports, this is where you actually got the best bounce. This thing sold off, I think, to a 90 handle, and then in very short order traded back up to 120. You got a 30-point bounce the same day that this happened. Now, to Nick's larger point here, which I think is going to affect more traders in total, because not everybody is nimble and waiting the instant that the piece of news comes out. I think they probably sucks them in overnight. The next day, again, this, I think, Nick is where Nick is right. If you don't trade that initial, and I know we're open, I'm going to go over to that in just a sec. If you don't trade that initial bounce, I think you're probably better off waiting for the dust to settle and then taking a look at it. I know GL behaved a little bit differently than this one, but I took those calls the day after thinking, hey, maybe this bounces some more, and they expired worthless. So, okay, we are open here today, folks. Let me get over to the main workspace. Let's see what's going on. DWTX, first move here looks like up out of the gate. That's VMI, the old VMI.
Vate looks trying to not enough volume, I would say. Yeah, I was going to add a little something to FTA, but we can talk about that once we get a little slowdown in the market. Some of these names just kind of selling off out of the open. That's fine. Let's wait from the bounce. What's
VATE? This is just kind of
Lunar. That one's starting to go. Looks like it's trying to take 20. That was a pre-market high very early this morning, 1999, and there we go, starting to move up through or trying to move up through 20. There it is. So that went off to a good start. Let's take a look at some of these other space names. Space names doing great this morning. SIDU up 13%. Redwire, RDW up 10%. Planet
so that entire space theme popping.
Higher theme.
Real quick here, POWW, this is a stock that we had talked about a while ago. I ended up taking a loss on the long-term swing trade I had on this. Ammo shares are trading higher after the company announced the sale of its small caliber ammunition manufacturing asset to Olin for $75 million. This thing popped almost as high as $2. It is curling up here. We'll see if this gets to VWAP at 165.
So they're selling their big manufacturing facility in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, and it looks like they're just going to be focusing on gunbroker.com.
And that facility, I used to drive by Manitowoc. Man, I have 6 to 8 times per summer on my way to Door County. Very familiar with Manitowoc, just stone's throw down the road from where I'm at. Canaan, CANN, this was ramping into the open here in the pre-market. This nasty pull all the way back down to the 220 area, which is where it traded in the pre-market. UAL, they have earnings tomorrow. They have earnings today after the close. The conference calls tomorrow. I beg your pardon. UAL here trading higher ahead of that print. TEM, this is Tempest AI. We did not talk a lot about this, kind of ran out of time here on TEM. This is part of the Nancy Pelosi trade. Tempest AI shares are trading higher after Nancy Pelosi disclosed the purchase of 50 Jan 2026 call options. So there you go. January 2026, ticker TEM.
Looking like ASST is trying to push higher, trying to take out that pre-market 126 level. Looking like it's going to looking like it's not going to be as successful unless we get a big old injection of volume here. Don't like the way that double top occurred in the pre-market. We might see this come down to $1 before it rebounds. Careful with ASST. VATE also getting support from the VWAP. EONR went down out of the open, getting support from its 200 EMA on the 5-minute. HSDT, this is popping right now, trying to go up to the 144 pre-market high.
You know what else is popping here real quick is Palo Alto Networks, ticker PANW. Boy, oh boy, that call buy was a good one. We're actually trying to make a run towards 200 here. In about 2 or 3 more bucks, I'll start trimming this position. Might be on the offer later today. We shall see.
Lunar is just ripping right now.
So is Rocket Lab. I see Rocket Lab on the relative volume scanner here.
Yeah, this space theme is going to be strong. Man, oh man. The Pelosi sell all shares or options?
Of what?
Of NVIDIA.
I'd actually have to go back to the story. Let me do that here real quick. I'll look that up for you.
Did she end up exercising? Because she had like December calls, didn't she?
You're asking me questions I don't have the answers to right off the top of my head here. Let me see. That should be in the article linked by producer. And then, you folks are having me do too much. Okay, I'm going to get back to this Pelosi thing here in a sec. You folks can look that up on your own if you need to. Real quickly here, you guys are mentioning some of the nuclear stocks that we talked about last week. These are continuing to move here. SMR ripping right out of the gate. OKLO was getting mentioned earlier here. This is actually my favorite. OKLO right up to the trend line, by the way, that we drew. That trend line continuing to come into play here. NNE would be another one that we'd add to this.
HSDT is also taken off 150 now.
Here is your HSDT right up to the pre-market high there.
Yeah. Okay, so I was just going to say, Jay Wild, thanks for looking at that. I was going to say, if with all these speculative things that we're running at the end of the year, we got to have quantum moving too. We just have to. So let's take a look, folks. Is quantum moving? QBTS. Oops. Oh, wow. Up 6%.
Whoever was asking, she sold 10,000 shares of NVIDIA. I don't remember if that was her entire position or not. She sold 31,600 shares of Apple. So there you go. That was in the article, as I suspected.
All the quantum names are just absolutely on fire right now. Favorite immigration border control stocks. I think the two that we like the most were GEO and AXON.
GEO, that's going to be the private prisons. Axon does the body cameras.
Yep.
QBTS, someone was asking about D-Wave earlier, and I said, we'll probably talk about some of these quantum names when the market opens here. These obviously bouncing back here. The thing to note here about D-Wave, this is the one where the CEO came on CNBC and said, hey, Jensen is wrong. By the way, it filled partial of the PANW order at $3. We bought those calls at $1.68. Partial booked. Let's go. We cannot lose on that trade now on PANW. Okay, really good morning here. RGTI is going to halt. Chris, looking at Rigetti.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. 12. Okay, so all of these really popping here. Rigetti, is this the biggest one? Plus 22% here on Rigetti.
This is crazy that we're getting all of these ripping. Don't be afraid. I mean, this is not advice, but just don't be afraid to pay yourself on the way up with some of these. I feel like we could completely get a whole reversal across the market with how much liquidity we got going on here. So just be careful with this move. This is great trading, but just keep your defensive on.
13. What did Red Dog say this morning? He was trimming he said he had all of these longs on and he was trimming into all of them in the pre-market. Now we're getting an extended move here. We're telling you the same thing. I just trimmed Palo Alto into a big move up out of the open. Really good stuff there. 13. By the way, Tesla here straight down out of the open. Tesla straight down. But that also reminds me, we talked a little bit about DJT and that being a potential sell the news or sell the news event. Look at that. I started by saying how proud I was of our group for saying that leading up to the inauguration yesterday. This was weaker in the pre-market. Looks like the first move here was down. I also said that this is likely to be volatile all day. So the fact that we have our first move down here doesn't necessarily mean it's totally dead, but these things are working out just as we anticipated here. Now, Tesla, I guess I'm a little bit surprised that we've moved down with such ferocity here, but maybe we are at a potential level here on Tesla, maybe 414, maybe another dollar low here. What do you think, you Tesla traders? What levels do you have for TSLA here today? How that? Oh, here's Redwire. So you were talking earlier about the space theme just being incredible. All of these starting to appear on the relative volume scanner now. VSAT, Rocket Lab, Redwire. I think there was one more on here that we saw earlier. $13, do we still have you?
Yeah, you do. I'm just
okay.
reading some stuff.
I couldn't tell. I know there's a snowstorm in Texas. I just wanted to make sure. Sorry about that. 3M, by the way, this one also reported earnings here today. 3M shares trading higher following better than expected Q4 EPS and revenue. This actually looked like it tried to take out the pre-market high and then kind of slowed down there. We'll see if 3M gets rolling. FTAI, the bloodbath continues, folks. This continuing to move to the lows. New lows now as we take out those pre-market lows. FTAI into a 70 handle. Oh, my goodness. Carmen, in and out of VSAT with success. Come on, folks. Give me the register rings. We're going to have positivity around these parts all day long. Let's keep ringing that register. Really good stuff from the group.
I saw somebody mentioning BBAI, and yeah, it is up 5% today, but I look at the daily chart, and I just don't think we would want to be touching this one anymore. It doesn't have a very good chart. I think this could end up coming right back in down to the 50 pretty soon here. So let's be careful with BBAI. Just don't like the way it looks.
Okay, so remember, this was actually a pretty decent mover from Friday, if I recall correctly, right? Was Ryan, were you on this one on Friday? I know we had a move up right out of the gate here. We traded that one here. It looks like we did move lower. We'll see if we really kind of close this. I'd like to see us get above 415 BBAI. Amanda talking about Kava here. This is actually kind of entertaining here. Amanda saying, I just got out of my Kava puts. 13, I think you smoked some Kava puts.
Yeah.
Did really well with that. I just got out of my Kava puts for a profit after what feels like a year of rolling them. Yeah, you mean when Kava was absolutely going gangbusters to the upside? By the way, if that's what was happening, pretty good strategy there on your part to be able to have conviction in your thesis and deal with the market not giving it to you. That's really well done. I'm excited not to see that on my position board anymore. Kava, I still think there's some more room to fall here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would expect this to tap 100 at some point.
And 105, we currently have the 200-day at 105.44. Current price here, 119. So plenty of downside action here. Apple, I'm going to get back to that. We talked about this one earlier. Folks, I have been, for someone that doesn't use an iPhone, I am probably the most bullish Apple stockholder out there. Everyone else I know that's really bullish on Apple has at least one phone. I just have the MacBook. I am thrilled at the Apple action here today. Amanda mentioning that this is tanking. Giddy up. Give me 217. Let's see what happens at this 200-day. We talked about this in the rundown here today with the downgrade that we got from Jefferies. Well, send it to that 200-day. Give me an opportunity to add this at a discount, or give me an opportunity to bounce here. If the market starts to correct and really start to sell off, I'd really like it if a stock like Apple has already kind of retraced some of its move and come into a support level. I think that would make it a little bit easier to buy in the event we do get that.
Looks like Lunar is getting pretty close to maybe finding a short-term top here.
I thought you were going to say Lunar is mooning.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's just the upper shadows it's putting in right now don't look great. It looks like it's trying to set up for a reversal here. So that might be what's happening. Just have to wait and see what this 5-minute candle that we're on does. But it looks like this is going to start turning around pretty soon here.
Okay. You guys are still talking about the quantum names with no surprise there. Quantum names stuff. 13, I'm actually going to step away for just 1 sec. I'll be right back.
No problem. So we're, look, even at NUKK, CRNC. Let's take a look at some of those, see what they're doing. Well, CRNC, that's not up very much. Looks like it has a nice reversal coming on the daily, but I don't see a lot of movement here with this one. What's the news for Rigetti? It's just the whole theme. All these speculative names are just running right now. You have your nuclears, your space, Bitcoin, and of course quantum. All the themes that we talked about last year that were they're moving on speculation. They're all moving today. So be very careful with those because we could see it reverse. And let's see what else we got here. QBTS big level 6. Don't be afraid to pay yourselves, guys. IWM, they had a nice reversal off of I believe it was the 20-day SMA on the IWM. Yeah, bounced off the 20-day SMA and then just ripped. Now it's going to come up to the 50-day SMA where I would anticipate it to find some resistance. That's going to be 230 and 50 cents. CMG should buy struggling S-Bucks drive-through stores. I don't know if they would want to.
Can you imagine if after that CEO change, if CMG ends up buying Starbucks? Can you imagine the troll job that would be?
I mean, I don't think, can they even afford Starbucks?
I don't know the specific. I'm just saying that would absolutely be hilarious. By the way, CHRO, whoever just mentioned this, really good mention. Volume expansion, new highs intraday. Giddy up. Giddy up. Good morning, Mike. If I didn't say good morning to you, good morning. It's great to have you here.
Well, looks like Lunar's trying one more push into the 2130s before we might get that move down. Let's see what happens here. Volume's really starting to thin out in that name.
TEM looks like this might take out the pre-market high here. TEM. Tell you what, I actually might scalp this one. I'm kind of tempted here.
All right. That's not looking great. So it looks like ASST just continues to go lower. HSDT had a really nasty drop beneath the VWAP. Rigetti
it did.
Rigetti's still running.
You know what's crazy is that the volume must have been so crazy in Rigetti recently. I don't even have this on my relative volume scanner. This is just kind of, even so though, today is just a huge day. By the way, TEM did move higher here. Watch for this to move above 45 on TEM. Entry there on that scalp. 4460. Really want to see this. Sorry to have the wrong stock on the wrong screen. Come on. TEM looking for a move above 45 here. We'll see if we end up getting that. Remember, this has the Pelosi headline behind it.
Axon and Nail, biggest wins. Nail, that's another one.
Stop at break even here. Looking for a move above 45 on TEM. Just brought in a pretty big seller there, 44.88. We'll see if this works. I actually have orders set up to take advantage of that one. We can keep running through some of these. And through 45, but it didn't fill me.
Lunar's still trying to push up. I just don't feel great about it right here. Volume slowing down, having a hard time getting over 2130 and staying over 2130.
Out TEM, we'll look to re-enter that one. That might have juice all day. 1 for 1 here on the scalps. ASST continuing to come in. TEM, let's see if that ends up getting a little heavy up there. DWTX, did start bouncing here a little bit. Looks like what, 204, 205?
Let's see here. I don't think I've been looking at that one yet.
So I can't make heads or tails of the different quantum names here. They all seem to be doing the same thing. That is to say, I can't tell you which one is the better buy. All of these look the same, at least for the ones we've been looking at. Yeah, QMCO, all of these behaving the same.
DWTX is going to need a lot more volume to get through the consolidation it put in the pre-market, and that's going to be between about 240 to 260. So
okay.
That it's going to need a lot more volume to get through all of that to go higher. Looks like Brigetti might be finding a short-term top here.
Moderna trading higher here. This actually just took out Friday's after-hours high. Moderna shares trading higher after the company announced it was receiving ongoing support from the U.S. Health and Human Services to accelerate the development of the mRNA-based pandemic influenza vaccine.
VSAT, this is great. This is the movement we were looking for here.
Let me cue that up here. Not in VSAT, but let me look at it for you folks. Oh, you're not kidding, 13.
This is that breakout of that consolidation. Approaching 11. Good stuff there. All right, looks like Vate is trying to turn around, but volume needs to be better, and it's got a lot of consolidation from the pre-market to get through, starting at, well, it's in two areas of consolidation, really. You combine them both, you're looking at like 7 to almost 750, 50-cent consolidation area there.
Wisdom saying, Ryan, when buying stocks, one must ask, what would Nancy do? Well,
ask her husband.
Yep. That's really, you were quick with that answer, 13. I absolutely love that. Really quick. One of the things that you can do is consult your handy dandy Benzinga Pro and see what Pelosi and her husband have been doing by clicking on the government trades tab. That way, if you're doing any type of due diligence, it's only just a click away to see if Nancy is dealing in the stock that you're dealing with. CHRO getting another mention here. It looks like that broke to more new highs here on CHRO. At this point, let's see if we pull back to the VWAP. I've got VWAP at 317. Let's see if we get one of those pulls and a setup.
Well, Lunar's still going. It's still slowing down, but it's moving nonetheless.
CHRO getting a little bit of a pullback here. First level to watch on CHRO is going to be 330, and then the VWAP there at 317.
Lunar's all-time high is 2232.
Whoa, Vate. Looks like I think you were just mentioning this. I'm sorry I'm a little late to this, 13. Vate popping to the upside, halted here on a volume stick.
I'm sorry, Lunar's all-time high is not what I just said. They had a big exponential move in 2023 in February, but since then, it hasn't been up to where we're at now. 2232 is the high from January 6th.
I'll be honest, 13, looking at this weekly chart here, sure looks like this weekly chart wants to break out 2250 and roll higher here.
All right, let's do it.
I don't know if that's, the daily kind of looks the same. Daily and the weekly looking good here on Lunar. Monthly actually has, interesting. Monthly has some volume that's compressing here. You have what, 10 days left in the month? I don't know if I can have a takeaway from that. Just kind of looking at the chart here, Lunar continuing to push higher. It was a good mention.
Yeah, and here we go with VSAT, almost to 11 now. Space names, quantum names.
I'll tell you what, you were on that one. You were on the space. You were on the space one. Really, really good.
Vate's halted now.
That's one we were just taking a look at. FTAI looks like that started to bounce off 75, printing 79s now on that potential bounce. TEM, the stock that I just scalped here a second ago, on its way back to the VWAP, would absolutely love this. I got VWAP 4316 here in a Pro, and I've got it at 4330 in the prop account. So let's see here, right in here, TEM. This pulls a little bit more. We might be set up for another bounce. Let's see.
What else do we got? 7510 and FTAI. That's getting pretty close to the 500. Not too far away now. We could see that move to $70 today, and that would probably be a good time to get calls. Actually, that might be something you want to ask Anne Marie.
Oh, We didn't ask Anne-Marie about this last week, did we?
No.
And we have her here today. We've got a bunch of earnings. Oh, 13. That way to go, dude. I'll tell you what, that snow didn't stop your productivity at all. It doesn't matter what they say about people in Texas. You have got this on lockdown.
Don't let anybody else hear that. We'll keep it between us.
Oh, 13.
Rigetti, it looked like it had a reversal candle in from the last 5 minutes, but trying to hold up here, this current candle. 1260 is the intraday high.
TEM at the VWAP now. So if you're going to take this for a VWAP trade, I want to see how it trades around this VWAP here. Looks like it is starting to bounce here a little bit. Maybe we'll scale into this. Take a starter here. I think if it holds and starts to push back up, maybe we'll add a little bit to this. Got to be careful, though. Don't want to give the gains back that I already made on this. And if it can't hold VWAP, just cut it. Just forget about it. We got plenty of other stuff moving around here. We should be able to find something here. Here's a trade that I'm trying to leg into right now. Buying at the VWAP, looking for a bounce. We'll add if we trade back above 43.50 on volume. If we can't, if we just hold right here or break this, we will be out.
Let's see how much time we have left on Vate. I think that's been halted for some time now.
Vate halted at 9:50.47. Look, we got less than a minute here. If it's a 5-minute halt, we are under a minute. We have 45 seconds to go.
ASST trying to turn around. Don't know if it's going to be able to recapture VWAP, but it's on its way up. Rigetti's still going sideways. Maybe it's not done going up, but it's looking much slower. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm going to leave Vate on the screen here because we are approaching open. I'm not trading this through the halt, by the way. This is just you folks, but let's see how it behaves here.
A lot of these just really starting to slow down here.
Real quick, Jay, we were talking earlier about some of the nuke names, OKLO, NNE, SMR. I think you mentioned CCJ. Seeing some interesting call sweeps in that here, CCJ. That's also trading higher, by the way. Vate still halted. Did it? Maybe it's a 10-minute? Let's see. Are we at 47 here? Yeah. Might be a 10-minute halt on Vate 13.
Okay. These are still pushing. CHRO coming back down beneath its VWAP, though. Yeah, UNR and ASST. This one just came right back. And this one might end up halting. ASST, it did.
Yep, ASST halted to the upside there. Vate resumed, so got a head fake there. Vate resumed and went higher. VATE, by the way, 826, that high print there.
Yeah, probably looking for the 850, trying to break through that.
There it goes. New highs by just a couple of pennies there.
It's trying, yeah, because 862 is that pre-market high, or the high from, what was this, 17th? So it seems like it's trying to push through that. See if that's what we end up getting here.
I have 842 as that high spot, but nonetheless, it sure looks like it's trying to take that area out here.
Oh, yeah. It's going right to it. Now, whether we get a rejection or not, that's what I'm not sure about. But if it breaks over it, this thing could run in a very spready way, much higher.
Here we go. Volume still looking really good on this one. VATE.
There it
There it goes.
877.
Here's that candle that you were talking about. Now I see it on the 5. I didn't see it on the 1. Interesting. I think you might have 9 prints on your hands here on Vate. No position for me, not trading this one. Definitely feel like I missed it. Move here was off that cross through the VWAP. You guys called that really well, by the way.
Well, I mean, look at the spread on this thing. It's quite dangerous just to jump into this.
Yep.
And VSAT printing 1101. That was awesome. I'm gonna have to tell Andy about that when I see it, if he's on today. CHRO.
No,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say that this was a pretty decent move higher here. TEM, by the way, bouncing off the VWAP. There we go. Looking pretty good. You know what? I missed my ad spot. Darn it. I even had that planned out and I missed it. I guess I feel like I'm just kind of guessing if I just add right here. Let's see what this does around 44 here. Still in it, still working. At this point now, moving stop up to break even, so it's impossible to lose. Giddy up.
Be careful with Rigetti. Upper shadows on that one. I don't know if this is indicating that it's trying to come back in. I'm looking at some of these other quantum stocks. They're kind of putting in some upper shadows as well. Be careful with the quantum stocks. I think they're trying to sell off a little bit, but they could go on another run. But I think for now, they're trying to just come back in and cool off.
I'll tell you what, at least with Rigetti here, you're certainly getting the volume to tell the story. Not only are we compressing, but it's starting to turn from buying volume to selling volume 13. So I think you might be right on that, at least for the intraday move here. Let me see if that looks like that on some of the other names here. IONQ looks a little bit different.
Double top. So does that.
QBTS looks actually worse, and no surprise. We actually lost the VWAP here, QBTS.
Oh, yeah.
Nick asking PLT dip by today ? Let's take a look at PLTR. Excuse me. By the way, FTAI continuing to come into that 68 level. That's the 500-day moving average. Oh, I think we lost 13.
No, I'm here. No, I must have a camera issue. It was like that earlier today with the thing here.
Okay, all good. I'll keep running PLTR until you hammer out that candle issue. By the way, FTAI, maybe this coming into its 500-day, that looks pretty good too. Let's take a look here, Nick, at Palantir, PLTR. Palantir. Okay, so the last time we talked about Palantir, I told you that the dip buy area that I really wanted was 60, 61. We did not get it. We came in close, didn't quite get it. Now it looks like we're trading back up. Nick, one of the things that I'll be looking for, I want to wait, right? Because here's the deal. I still think we might roll over to some of these moving averages. Now, if we trade sideways here and we allow those moving averages to rise up to where we're at, maybe things will change. I still think we're going to roll over. So does it find resistance here at 74, which is your 20-day moving average, and maybe roll back over towards that 60? That's kind of what I'm waiting to see. If I take a look at the trend line here, this really starts to hold up, right? So until this downtrend is broken, I still think that what we should do is try and be as patient as possible and wait for a rollback over to a support level here. One that I'd be looking for is going to be 60.
Yeah, Palantir, I think we still wanted to see, let me take a look at that one because I think we wanted to see this go lower. So it's coming up to its 20-day SMA.
Sorry to interrupt real quick. TEM coming back up to the same area that we were rejected at earlier. Remember, this is the second trade here, and I was unable to add. So kind of thinking that we'll wait and see what happens here, 45.30, but looking to take gains here, TEM. All right, 13. Let me go back to the Palantir chart. Go ahead and break that down. I'm sorry for interrupting.
That's right. 20-day SMA, the $70 area is where the buyers had typically stepped in before it lost that level. Now it's recaptured it. So if we do get a rejection at the 20-day SMA and it starts to trade lower, $70 is where we're going to want to see the buyers step in if you're bullish. So keep an eye on $70. That's where buyers have stepped in the past. We're above it now, so if it starts to fall back down there, keep an eye on some reversal area for that as a reversal area.
Okay, really good stuff.
ASST just ripped to new intraday highs.
Marcy is asking, is it possible to follow the show on other platforms without this delay? So the delay issue that you're speaking, this seems to be varied for person to person. Sometimes it can be a very short delay, and then to others, it can be up to 30 seconds. We always stream every day to YouTube, Twitch, and X. You can always try any one of those and see if they give you better performance. I will note this for my producers and see if there's anything that we can do on our end.
And Rigetti is now falling. Those wicks were not telling a lie.
Okay, and real quick here, I'm sorry I'm a little bit late on this. Apologize. The poll results. Do you think this is the beginning of a golden age of America? 48% of you said yes. 30% of you said no, and 20% of you said not sure. I'll be honest, judging by my view of the chat, this seems about right down where I thought it would be. Guys did pretty much exactly what we thought. So good stuff there.
Yeah, I'm not sure why I'm not getting any feed here with my camera, but
yeah,
as long as you hear me, that's all that matters, right?
We can hear you. We can hear you. TEM, we are out. The second leg of that trade, we are 2 for 2 on TEM as we push through 45 up towards 46. Tell you what, the Pelosi push, that was the catalyst we need. The second trade was the pullback to VWAP and the hold. If I were grading myself, I'd grade myself a C+ because part of my plan was to add on the hold, and I got distracted and missed the ad. So we're able to make some money here. Would not have been as much as I had hoped, but the trade plan worked out.
Yeah, I have no open positions right now because this market is looking like it's starting to roll over a bit here. A lot of the names that we were trading this morning just kind of coming back in. SPY beneath 600 again. I feel like I just need to be a little bit patient and wait for the next series of setups here. A lot of these names that we've been seeing are coming back in.
Okay. I think the idea to remain patient really a smart one here. Boy, TEM, that really did well. So actually didn't trade any of the dollar names here today. My best trades working off some of the bigger names here. Speaking of the bigger names, how's Tesla doing? TSLA, how are we doing here on Tesla? Wow, another leg lower here on Tesla. So it looks like we tried to bounce off 412 there. New lows. Lion Atlas saying, I think it's time to get a long position on Tesla. So Lion telling you he thinks this is a buy area for Tesla. Factor in your own risk accordingly, folks. Oh, and then another tip here from Tom. Tom, I appreciate this tip. This might help some of you. Sometimes you get a delay when you lose the signal temporarily and then press play again. You end up being delayed. But you have to press live to go back to real time. That will ensure that you have the shortest delay or the smallest delay possible. Good tip there. All right, let's take a look at some of the other stocks that you folks are mentioning. RCAT getting mentioned. That's been a show favorite here. RCAT on the pullback. I'll say this. If you're going to leg into RCAT, make sure that you have some pretty good technical levels here. The big kind of story, the big thing that really started to push this is kind of on hiatus. Not saying it can't turn back around, but we might need some type of piece of news in order to do that here. RCAT, along with some of the other drone stocks, kind of in a pullback here. Do we see? This is kind of what I'm looking at, but I don't think it's very great. We'll see if this head and shoulders ends up materializing. We did have a trend like this that we recently broke. I'm not even going to add that on here. Let's see if Red Cat holds here. I would say maybe this $8 level will give it some support. We'll see here on RCAT.
Yeah, just trying to be patient, wait for some of these things to set up because it looks like a lot of them are kind of falling down.
ASST, as we were speaking, ASST going for that pre-market high on volume. Stopped just short there.
Looks like Vate might be putting in a bull flag. If it can hold VWAP, then there might be another impulse move up.
Here you go on that VWAP.
Just need to see a little bit of an expansion in volume, and we can try and push up to that 881, maybe higher.
Real quickly here, Crimp Biscuit mentioning EONR. This is one that we talked about earlier. This made another move lower, but it is curling now, and that volume's starting to expand a little bit. Maybe we do get some buying volume here. Watch the VWAP. 176 is your VWAP on EONR. This looks like it might be trying to go for that. ONDS mentioning that is below 2. They actually had some news here this morning as well. Looks like this also continuing its move lower here with the rest of the drone theme. You'll see here Ondas doing a decent job holding this recent low 185. News here today on Ondas, Eric Brock voted co-chair of the Commercial Drone Alliance. This definitely good for the long term here. Not creating any movement so far here today, but this board, I guess, works directly with the FAA. Let's see here. Yes, the CDA, an independent nonprofit organization, collaborates closely with key policymakers at the FAA and the Department of Transportation, White House, and Congress. So this appointment here should be pretty good for ONDS long term. Ondas down about 2.5% here today. Still in that for a long-term move, ONDS. See what else is cracking here today. NINE, that's not NNE.
ASST break over that intraday high. Looks like Vate is trying to turn around here. Still very low volume, still very spready. There was a question I saw here. Nicholas Lavelle asking, do we know which air taxi company is setting up for the LA Olympics? That would be Archer.
So that is Archer. Okay.
They are trying to get everything up and running by next year. And the Olympics in LA is in 2028. So they want to have themselves well established by that point. I think, and I looked it up. That is one. I don't know if that's the only one, but that is definitely one of the air mobility companies that are looking to be part of the Olympics in LA. Man, Vate is just really making me think two different things at once. Like it wants to try and break out, but the volume is is low and it's spready. I just don't know. ASST for 142 intraday high.
For VATE here, 835. I think if it can get above that, I think 850 would be your next challenge here, and that actually might send it higher here. So I don't think this is necessarily done yet. VATE. It's trying.
Yeah, another one that might be trying here. We looked at it already. DWTX had that pop over VWAP, came back in and held. Now it's kind of holding in the consolidation. So another big spike in volume could get this one up into the 260 area, maybe higher.
TEM continuing to move higher here. TEM. So this would have been strategy wise, especially on like the second trade of the day. If you were able to scale in successfully, which is what I was not able to do here today, this would be an opportune scenario to leave a trailer on for the rest of the day. Sometimes we've talked about some of these that we were able to scalp early and then they keep running throughout the rest of the day. I'll tell you what, if you make 2 trades that go in according to your plan and you're able to book most of that, I think leaving a trailer on there might be a good way to stay exposed to that. Nothing for me here on TEM, but this above 36, this looking pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of the space names well, maybe not all the space names, but space names coming in. Quantum computing definitely coming in. Let's see here. VSAT, I mean, it went as high as 1120. Now it's trying to get support from VWAP, looking like it's rolling over. Lunar, same thing. Blasted off to 2182. Now this thing is just going down, down, down. It's lost 20 and looks like it might end up getting a little bit better support around 1950. Which it's almost at. Bait still trying to push up. This has got a huge spread. Be very careful if you're going to try and trade that. EONR still trying to push its way through that consolidation from pre-market.
This never got back to its VWAP here. We'll see if that changes on EONR. By the way, Captain Cloudy here saying my upside target for TEM is 55. So Tempest AI, another AI play there. We'll see if that gets to 55. I am all out of this. Izzy, taking a look at the NASDAQ, you were just talking about the market really kind of pulling back here. NASDAQ seems to be leading the way to the downside here. NASDAQ down about 0.25%. SPY here still holding on to green, but barely. S&P futures also pulling here. So NASDAQ leading the way lower here so far.
Tesla traders are approaching 405. I think a lot of them were looking to go long at that level. If you don't get your 405 number to, it's not the reverse area you're looking for. The other levels I'd be keeping an eye on are going to be, I'd probably say just 390 would be the best looking level. I mean, you have your 50-day SMA at 384.33, so you could also include 385 there if you wanted as a nice round number. But that's if you lose that 405 level. All right. Still looking like a lot of weakness after all that morning action. Vate. Oh, man, look at that pull. It's halted to the downside now. So that one right back down into the consolidation area that it broke out of.
Yeah. Glad I stayed away from that one. I was taking a look at that. I was like, yeah, if you get involved in this, you will likely be sorry.
Yeah. ASST. This one's still ahead. ASST making new intraday highs, but the volume keeps getting lower and lower. This is another one to be careful of because I think this could pull at any moment and go back down beneath VWAP as well.
Bitcoin also pulling back here too. Looks like the Bitcoin high on the Bitcoin futures chart here today. Let's see, I had that high here right around 105,600. Bitcoin futures have pulled back here 103,200. So it looks like about a 3,000 point swing so far there on Bitcoin.
Here we go with EONR. It looks like it's trying to get a little bit higher. Still has a long way to go before it gets to the highs it had in the pre-market.
Yep, and we did come back to VWAP. And look at that, the volume pop here. That's exactly what we needed there. Exactly what we needed there. Real quick, stay focused. Ryan, it seems like sell the news for retail. Let's see what happens this afternoon. Indeed, that is what it seems like. Stay focused. And again, shout out to our group because we talked about this ahead of time. We kind of stuck our neck out there and talked about one of the potentials here for a day like today. Looks like that's what we're getting here. Great. If you took, and remember, we had Red Dog on earlier. Red Dog was telling you we were a lot of these stocks gapping in the pre-market. He was selling. He was selling into that strength.
I'm being asked, I think I'm being asked if I think there's another push in VSAT. If there is, it's going to need better volume than this. The thing to watch for now is if it can hold above VWAP, which it's currently getting support from. We lose that, I think we could see 990. Okay. Well, I don't see anything I'm really excited about jumping into at the moment.
EONR right through its VWAP there. So at least for this first trade, when we first talked about it, it would lighten maybe a little bit there, leave part on here, maybe stop at VWAP, see if this keeps rolling. EONR, I'm not in this one, just thinking about how you'd play this move.
Looks like it's probably going to try to get to 2 where it will end up getting rejected. That would be my thought. There's a lot of it looks like it's going to have a hard time getting over 2 just because of the amount of consolidation it's had in the pre-market. Sorry.
That's all good. Sorry for interrupting you, 13. Tia Party. We're going to give you a registering. Again, we're going to keep the positivity rolling here. Tia Party asking a HSDT question mark. Not sure what you're asking there. You went on to say, I made 30% on it earlier, got my daily minimum. I'm out of it. Okay, so real good there. I would say this, just looking at the action here, this is all, ooh, and look what just happened. All of this is negative here, okay? All of this is negative here. You did have that first initial push. Awesome, you were able to make some money on that push. But man, we lost the VWAP on huge selling volume. We lost the pre-market area just now. We lost the intraday low just now. I would say with HSDT, let this firm up and tell you that there's a long side trade there. I don't see one here, and I think you probably have some better opportunity elsewhere. Vate, look at Dog Z, by the way. So some of you might have heard me smack talk this name in the past. I've lost money on here. Not proud of it. Dog Z, absolute garbage here today. Down 36%. Vate, you were mentioning, was just halted to the downside. Look at that nasty pull. Oh my.
That's been halted for some time now.
Okay, so that was the one that you mentioned. Yeah, sorry about that.
Just unhalted.
In fact, it was halted for so long that it just resumed.
Yeah. They're like, oh, okay, Ryan's talking about it. We better get this thing going again. I don't see anything. Still don't see anything. Oh, maybe TEM. This is pushing back up now. New intraday high. Nice push from Go EV. Any news on A-Lab? I'll look at any news on A-Lab.
I was going to say, Dr. Manred asking about A-Lab. Yes, we did have news here. Astera Lab shares are trading lower after Morgan Stanley downgraded the stock from overweight to equal weight, but maintained its price target at 142. So real quick here, Dr. Manred, I appreciate you asking about this. We will often talk about the difference between price target changes and rating changes. Here you go. Price target didn't move at all, but the rating change moved from overweight to equal weight. This down 10% on that re-rating. Let me go ahead and make sure there's no other news in here. Let's see. Price target raised to 135 from 87 at Barclay. So there you go. So it got a price target raise that was pretty much ignored, and the rating change from Morgan Stanley here really driving it.
TEM ripping to new highs, 47.25. The thing about A-Lab on the daily chart is that I see a Batman head and shoulders.
Hang on. Did you just say a Batman head and shoulders?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to see this formation. Here we go. Here's your daily. Where is that? This?
Uh-huh. And then look at the shoulders on either side. So yeah, you could say it's a double top, but when you have the shoulders there, it's like, okay, well, you have a Batman head and shoulders. They're both bearish patterns.
I love it. I absolutely love it. We are in a golden age of chart patterns, it would seem.
So all it has to do next is the 50-day SMA, which it definitely looks like it could. Still not oversold yet, so it looks like I would say the 50-day SMA is the level to watch for. We lose that, then I think we're going to see even more downside.
There you go. ALAB with the Batman head and shoulders. Oh, that is so good. Right back down to 50. I see the Batman. Let's go. And by the way, TEM, that you had casually thrown that in there before we talked about that. Holy bat stock, Batman. TEM, really, definitely. See, this is why I graded myself a C, even though I had 2 trades booked for green. Because I didn't leave a trailer on, watch TEM probably run to 55 today. Who was that sideshow that gave that price target earlier? Watch this thing run without me on there. Regardless, the trades that I made here on this, not terrible. So pretty good with that. Pretty good with that one.
I think we run into 48.25, and that might be a resistance area before we get to the
okay. That'd make me feel a lot better, honestly. I wouldn't feel like I left so much on the table there.
Yeah, but you took some off the table.
Here we go. It's Jay Rice giving you a call ahead of the binary event. I love these. Jay here saying the earnings is the second week of February, so we are rapidly approaching that, about 3 weeks away. I think they beat big, says Jay. I think they beat big and is a buyer on dips. Jay, appreciate this. Appreciate you sticking your neck on there for sticking your neck out there with the call. For what it's worth, Jay Rice was a big proponent of A-Lab when this thing moved from 60 plus to 140. Jay, clearly you watched that on the way up. Let's have this come back in and let's have this work for you again. That'd be sick. Meanwhile, Izzy's out here just withdrawing money from the Amazon ATM. 4 for 4, really good stuff there, Izzy.
Yeah, he might be right, but I just look at some things with A-Lab, like the weekly and monthly charts, and it doesn't look like. I mean, it looks like they're coming back in, but they should at least cool off some more than this. I also don't like how I think this might be overvalued to a pretty significant degree. I mean, the company pulls in what it's got. It's not really making a whole lot of money according to last quarter, but it still does 113 million in revenue. But the company's worth 21 billion. Got a forward PE of 128. I still think this needs to come in. Well,
and you know what? You might get this to come in until that earnings. You might get a pop and then
there you go.
Another retreat. It's possible that given the setup that both of you could end up being right here. Just keep that in mind. TEM, Captain Cloudy saying that target for TEM, I thought on the weekly chart, not necessarily today. I was just kidding around. This just kept moving after I made 2 good trades on it, but I'm out of it now and it keeps moving higher. I'm not sure if this is going to test the VWAP again. And frankly, if it does, it might be too much of a pullback to really try it. But we'll watch TEM. At least we're 2 for 2 on the day here on it.
Looks like those space and quantum names are trying to come back. At least some of them are.
Amanda, here we go. Hit my weekly goal this morning. Amanda, it's not even 10:30 in the morning on the first trading day of the week, and you're done. Volume looks to be tapering off. I think we're in for some yucky days coming up. Amanda, really good job here this morning. Stay warm.
I would think that's true. I mean, we kind of discussed about how we could see one more push into 600 before a big fall.
Yep. How many of the happy hour group? How many of us are kind of sitting with dry powder, waiting for a down move, waiting for the next move, frankly?
Yeah.
I feel like this is a common thing.
Tesla's European registrations fall 13%. Is that something that we touched on with Tesla?
I don't think so. No.
Pulling it down.
Was that fresh, or was that from over the weekend, or what's the deal with that?
That came out about half an hour ago.
Okay.
On the SPY news feed, Tesla's 2024 European registrations fall 13%. Is that not on the Tesla news feed?
No, it is. It sure is. Tesla struggles in Europe as new registrations fall 13% in 2024, driving first global delivery decline in years. I think you're right, 13. Really, this is a good mention by you. I think this is probably sending Tesla lower here.
Well, how low did we get? Did the folks that were looking for 405 get it? Looks like we got pretty close. Where'd we end up? 406.31. Looks like the low before it started to curl. Now this might end up resulting in a bear intraday bear flag. So just be careful with this. I think it needs to show that it can recapture and hold above 415. Otherwise, it might end up going lower.
Amanda here adding a little context to her great morning. To be fair, half of that is cashing out Anne-Marie band trades. You know how Anne-Marie feels about that. Indeed. We got Anne-Marie coming up here today. So if you missed out and you have FOMO because Amanda's out here printing money and then drying her eyes with her money, don't worry. You'll have another opportunity to get back in here.
TEM
we got more for you
on the doorstep of 48.
This thing just straight up. The 2 VWAP bounces and boop, higher we go. Someone was asking about PanW earlier. Let me tell you guys, I'm telling you, PanW, this is my favorite stock. Uh-oh, I did miss. Okay. Oh, we're good. This is sorry, I got distracted there. And now, oh my goodness, look at this.
I'm black screened.
Yeah, what happened to your camera?
Not quite sure.
I'm sure. I was going to say, I'm sure a restart probably fixed that. Let me get my screen back up here so we can stop. There we go. Okay, PanW, as I was saying, PanW here, this is my favorite in the cybersecurity. Amanda, I've come full circle now after kind of talking about this being a theme for 2025. Some of my short list here, you had correctly pointed out that I was an idiot for not having CrowdStrike on my theme. That is now added as well. CrowdStrike added to my list of conviction cybersecurity plays, but the one still in the first place here is PanW, and I'm actually still long it. We booked some gains here today. And higher we go. Remember, I'm in the February 200 calls here for PanW. We just booked some of those here at 100%.
Yeah, Rocket Lab is a price target of 35, so it's probably just going to run right up to that today. And then I also saw Blind Atlas talking about Cat. Cat's been when we've been on with the wildfires in LA.
Yep.
Them and Deere, they're going to be tapped for cleanup and reconstruction. So yeah, I agree. That's going to be a good one for some time. All right. So is TEM finally hitting a top here? Let's see.
Dan here mentioning Tesla outlook is not good. Elon is offending too many. Oops, wrong one. Elon is offending too many people, both inside and outside the USA. I won't be surprised if Europe puts a tariff on Tesla cars. Dan, this is an interesting thought. We'll see how this ends up going, or we'll see how this ends up shaking out. Would not bet against him. Just saying. If it does allow the stock price to come back in, I would try to look at that as a potential setup for a long move. I would not bet against Elon. Just me, though.
And
what makes the market?
I think Elon's argument for why he's on board with ending those EV credit subsidies is because his competitors would take it much harder than Tesla.
Absolutely. That's you're absolutely correct there. And in fact, in the article that we shared this morning when we talked about some of that, he mentions that. He mentions how it would crush his competitors and would actually be a net positive long term for Tesla. Spot on, 13. Spot on.
Might be some short-term pain, but ultimately he'll end up winning with that.
I'll tell you what, short-term pain for long-term gain, that's the way to go. That's the way to go.
Yeah, Rocket Lab is just blasting off.
VSAT flirting with a potential 11 break to the upside here. You were mentioning Rocket Lab. This continues to rocket higher. My goodness.
Yep, might end up hitting that $35 price target. So
we'll see where that ends up going.
Looks like 48 was the near-term top for TEM. We'll see if this just needs to cool off a bit so it can push higher.
Oh, stop that, Nick. Stop that, Nick. That was just a picture that was taken. There's a picture of every leader, both sides doing the same thing. That is nothing to take away from. Come on, you're better than that.
BA is going. Did they have?
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just reading what Captain Claudia was saying. BA is going. Do they have any news? Let's see.
While you're looking that up, this totally flew under my radar. Summit. SMMT plus 11% here. Summit Therapeutic shares are trading higher. HC Wainwright added again here, reiterating a buy on the stock. Did they do anything to the price target? Yes. Maintained their same $44 price target. Ticker SMMT. Summit.
Let me take a look at. I don't see news with Boeing, but let me answer a suspicion here. Because I think it might just be the defensive names just all going together. Let's see, RTX.
Ooh, NASDAQ in the green? Sorry.
Yeah, it's, these industrial names, it seems like that could be why Boeing's going. You have Lockheed Martin going. They're up about the same, like Boeing's up 2.5%. Lockheed Martin's up almost 3%. RTX is up a little more than 2.5%. So yeah, all these industrial defense names are moving up together, and I think that's why you see the movement with Boeing. Not sure if that's on anything that Trump may have said. Like maybe going after cartels. I'm not sure we're going to necessarily be involving heavy military hardware on them, but that would, kind of be where my thought would go as to why we're seeing the movement. Rocket Lab now looking like it's going to take out 31 or trying to.
Before I go back over to Rocket Lab, let me ask you really quickly about the Boeing chart here. So I'm looking at both the Boeing daily and weekly chart here. We're going to start with the daily. Daily sure looks like we back tested the 200-day held and are pushing above. The result here is a recapture of the 20-day on the daily. Now, if you flip over to the weekly, it actually looks like these past couple of weeks we've been flirting with the 50-week moving average, and this week, although early in the week, we're starting to take that out. Do you think there's a move higher here in Boeing? Possible 180 break here, maybe?
It would have to have a good amount of volume to get through that consolidation. I would think that there would have to be some news to accompany it.
Okay. Well, that's something to watch for here.
Maybe it's earnings, because they have that in 7 days.
And that's in 7. Okay, there we go. You know what? Maybe Boeing. Did we do one with Anne Marie for? I'm gonna add that to the list here. We're going to give her too many tickers to go over again. That's going to be 2 times in a week that we will have done that. Oh, Boeing here actually looks like this is at the highs for the day.
Yep. Rocket Lab over 31 now.
Yeah, now that was the one that I said that I'd go to here. This is indeed a rocket here. And look at the volume. Look how good the volume has been today. Oh, man.
Just the entire space thing is insane right now.
Did you have anything specific for Rocket Lab, or was it just space in general?
Rocket Lab is the one that they have their own launch facility in New Zealand. They have a dedicated launch facility in, I believe it's Virginia, for the U.S. government. And they're also trying to bring online their Neutron rocket, which will be able to more closely compete with SpaceX. Rocket Lab, they're the ones I said that are overvalued, but based on all the moves they've been making, all the business they've been getting, they should grow into their valuation at some point. I think Rocket Lab is a very, very big competitor in the future for SpaceX. I don't think it's going to end up getting to be better than SpaceX because they're making much better strides, but the competition is heating up against their Falcon 9 rockets, and that's going to be Rocket Lab and Blue Origin. That could be big competitors. You also have other companies like Redwire, RDW.
Yeah.
That's basically the picks and shovels of space. So that's another good one.
Yeah. And so the picks and shovels of space here. So it's safe to assume that Redwire might actually be a decent play no matter who the actual winning company or companies are.
Yeah, I think Redwire is going to get tapped a lot of different things.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
You also have, well, we already know about VSAT. SIDU, Cytospace, that's also up 22%. This is a company that is going to be building a data center either on the moon or in lunar orbit. I don't remember which one it is, but a lot of these satellite plays are part of the space theme. They're going to get a lot of business. Rocket companies are going to get a lot of business, and basically anything that has to do with any components that are used, they're going to get a good amount of business as well. I'm having a hard time, and I think it's because they're public, with finding all the different types of companies out there that provide fuel and liquid oxygen to these rocket companies. I believe that they're private companies though, so there might not be a trade there.
Okay, that's a good dive there. Good dive across the landscape. 13.
Yep. We're going to get a lot of competition this year in 2025 across the space industry. It's going to be fantastic.
Okay, sweet. Oh, and so folks, just a really quick look here at the schedule. So it's currently 10:36 Eastern. Look here at the schedule, 10:50 to 11:02. We're going to be doing a pre-recorded all access. We'll be right back here for Anne Marie. I'll take you through all of it. Do not worry. I will take you through all of it.
Watch for a new high in PEM. If we get the volume push here, we could break 48.
TEM, so interesting. So we did actually have a pullback here, not close to the VWAP, but maybe that will mark the bounce spot here. Ryan Milligan is crushing it on BBAI, I think.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Look at that move through the VWAP. Was not on this one, Ryan. Was not on this one, but you were, and you know what that means? You get another register ring. CHRO.
That just broke through its VWAP.
Through the VWAP.
Yeah, 371 is the intraday high. Looking to take that out with this formation. Just needs to hold on to this type of volume.
Boom. Looks like Glenn and Ryan on BBAI. You guys, you know what? I'm giving you guys another register ring. I'll tell you what, the chat really brought it here today. I love it. I absolutely love it. You guys are pumping me up. Jay Rice saying, so buy SATL and Planet Labs. This must have been in reference to your mention on space stocks there. I wanted to call it soliloquy, but that was wrong. Looks like Jay Rice saying SATL and PL ?
So Planet Labs is another one of those I have on my
That's on your list. Yep.
They're up almost 20%. They do a lot of imaging for Earth that helps with identifying dry zones, flood zones. Lots of different things that can be extrapolated from what the data that Planet Labs does when they do imaging and photographing of Earth. So very, very important to agriculture. I know I have more information on this than that, that write-up I did, but I'm just going off of memory right now. Definitely one to keep an eye on, because I think Planet Labs, they do have a good amount of revenue, I believe. Let me double check that. And I just don't remember if they are necessarily profitable. No, not profitable, but they do over 60 million in revenue each quarter. They have a good amount of money in the bank. Over, let's see, have 139 million in cash and another 103 in short-term investments, which is liquid enough for cash. So it's quite possible, but I don't know when that profitability comes about. It might be sometime this year or in the future. I just don't know for sure.
Okay. Good breakdown there. I love how you're always ready to break down some of these stocks at a moment's notice. Really appreciate that.
Well, I spent a lot of time looking at
them. So
I feel like I know more than I should about
And you're here, but you know what? You're here to share it with the group.
Yeah.
That's what really makes it awesome. That's what makes it awesome.
Here goes TEM.
Okay, Lunar here, by the way. AI Rod. I'm still calling you AI Rod, even if it's Al, just because the AI theme. AI Rod here mentioning Lunar. We're still at the highs. TEM turning back up. Let's see what happens at 48.
Yep, 48's the level to get through. A little spready as well. Not really spready like some of these other ones we've been looking at today, but has gaps.
DJT down 11% here, 13. Super happy with you and I talking about this ahead of the inauguration, mentioning that this is likely a sell the news event. Full disclosure, did not trade this either direction myself, but we talked about it last week as being a sell the news event, down 11% here today. Hopefully we helped somebody there. Redwire still at the list. This is still at the highs along with your Rocket Lab.
We also have CHRO that made a new intraday high and came back in. Might be setting up for another push, but be patient if you want, because I think this might need a little bit more time before it gets back up over that intraday high we had earlier at 372.
Several chatters mentioning SoundHound, ticker SOUN here. Shout out to you. We didn't have these on the list. This ran out of the gate. I think maybe we took a quick look at it and then took it off. Shout out to you folks that are staying with the things that you're watching here. I know we didn't talk a lot about SoundHound, and shame on us, because 1350 to 15 here. This was a nice little move on pretty good volume. You even got the VWAP cross in the middle of this move. Really good stuff here on SoundHound. I'll throw out register rings for whoever hit that one. Wasn't me here today, unfortunately.
Is he mentioning SPCE? I think this is just doing two things. It's short squeezing and it's moving with the other space stocks. I don't think there's anything really material here. I've only seen this company do anything twice with space, and that was it needed an aircraft to get it up high enough in the sky to launch it up into orbit and then come back in.
Lowest volume of all the space stocks that we're looking at here today too.
Aside from tourism, I don't think this company does anything else. So I don't think there's as much here as there are on some of these other space plays. It's still on my list of space stocks because it's all a part of that theme. But I think to a lesser extent, this one is not as good as the others. And here we go with CHRO, trying to push up into new intraday highs.
Bitcoin still continuing its bounce from the morning pullback here. Remember that morning pullback took us to about 103 on the futures chart, just crossed 104. So that is continuing to bounce here. Looks like Tesla's bouncing a little bit. VIX down here, 1541. So VIX actually got hit today. VIX down 2.5%. Okay. Let's take a look around the scanner, see what else we got. CHRO, I think you just mentioned that. Another volume pop here.
Yeah.
We do have a double top kind of set up here around 375. Something to keep in mind.
I mean, if it gets rejected up there, then I think that double tops. Otherwise, we're going to have a scallop.
Dog Z. Wow. So Jay here mentioning Dog Z, $10 move off this dead cat. $10 move. He's not wrong. I mean, no, Dog Z, dead cat. I know. Here's the thing. Look, I'll just straight up, like, I've I've watched this stock before. I got hit on this stock before. It does not trade great. This is not one that I trade often. I'll say this, Jay, if you're able to catch a move like this, you're really good. There's no way I would have just even in hindsight here, just trying to like look at how this would have shaken out. There's no way I would have felt comfortable holding this one. This is an impressive move, but just know what you're trading. I know that if I had traded this, there's no way I would have correctly captured that move. There's no way. I would have screwed it up somewhere along the lines. Just because of my previous trade experience with it and what it is. Just know what you're owning if you trade any of these. If you hit this, man, really good move.
Looks like VSAT's trying to take out the 1120 high that it made earlier this morning.
Sure does.
Volume, this is a little bit more volume, but I think it gets it anyway, or at least touches it. TEM, that's pushing up still, trying to get to the 48.
Interesting here on Lilly. Lilly was green earlier today with the rest of the market. Lilly kind of gave that back. We got news last week that was negative for this, right? We got news that their drug stocks. Eli Lilly is saying that the market overreacted here to their earnings.
Quantum names look like they're trying to get back up to that level they were at prior to the rollover. Rigetti in particular, that looks like it's trying to get over 230. Let's be careful. It looks like there's a lot of slowdown happening. SPY back over 600.
Remember, we got so Friday, we got price target lowers on Novo and Eli Lilly. U.S. FDA Chief Califf says current regulations not enough to protect Americans from the risk of compounded GLP-1 drugs. That had to drive Lilly down. Anyway, Lilly was positive here today, gave everything back. Maybe watch for Lilly, ticker LLY, potential another leg lower here.
Yeah, Crow, I think you might be right. EONR just need a break of 175 on a little bit more volume than this, but 175 looks to be the level to break out. Yeah.
Good mention there, Crow. Volume pop right through the VWAP. Looks like we might be trying to go here. 175, 176.
A little bit of a fight right there, isn't there? T-Pet bouncing, says Kathy Austin. Play up 11%. Rocket Lab trying to put in another new high, almost to 3150.
Okay. Real quick here. Let's see. Okay, so I think we're going to do it looks like remember folks, the all access that we're doing here today, it was pre-recorded. Looks like we're going to run that here in about a minute 13. Then we're going to come back for Anne-Marie right at 11. So 13, before we do that, any closing words from the group here on what to look for today and then maybe even the rest of this week if you have that? Obviously space. I guess we'll start with the second question, space.
Yeah, I would just wait and see how these speculative names react. I mean, if you can kind of just watch Bitcoin and see what it does. That's kind of the ultimate speculative asset right now. If it goes up, some of these you could consider that risk on. If it goes down, risk off. So that could be the gauge that we use for the time being until we get some more clarity on where this market's headed. But I would think that we see some selling into this. This news that we have a new president that is got some very ambitious goals for the country and is looking to make America great again and again. So we'll see how that plays out. Just watch the volume on some of these. If it doesn't look like the volume's returning, I think that's your exit cue. Or if you're not in it, maybe stay away if it doesn't have the volume, because that's going to be key for these speculative names to push up higher.
Okay. Yeah, in fact, in the chat here, Bobby G saying volume across the spectrum is just not convincing today. Indeed, Bobby. And actually, we're seeing some of the key levels not get taken out as well. Sean asking, when is the Trump honeymoon over? Sean, this is definitely going to produce a trade or series of trades. I don't have a date for you here today, but this is clearly something that we should be watching. So good stuff there. Okay. We're going to do all access. Then we're going to come back here for Anne-Marie. 13. I will see you tomorrow and hopefully later today if we can get the camera fixed.
Yeah, hopefully you'll see me at all if I can get this camera working. Otherwise, folks, great morning trading with y'all, and hope you made some money there. Let's see if we can do it again tomorrow. We'll see what the market gives us. Until then, take care, everybody. I will see you tomorrow.
All right. Take care, 13. We're going to send you to all access right now, and we'll be back here in about 12 minutes for Anne-Marie. See you in a second.
Thanks, Ryan. You zingers, and welcome to All Access. I've got a fantastic guest for you today. It is David Hobbs, the executive chairman of Pantheon Resources. The AIM ticker is PANR, and the OTCQX ticker is PTHRF. He's joining us for an exclusive talk today. All Access starts right now. It's my pleasure to welcome in the executive chairman of Pantheon Resources, David Hobbs. Wonderful to be with you today, David.
Dan, delighted to be with you.
Well, let's get right into it. Give us an overview of Pantheon, if you would, please.
Pantheon is a UK-listed company with enormous lease positions in Alaska, on which we've found a whole load of oil, basically independently certified 1.6 billion barrels of recoverable oil and just over 6 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. Just been drilling and are between drilling and testing a new well, which could add substantially to that position. The pre-drill estimate was for another 600 million barrels of oil. And in fact, what we found is a rather larger hydrocarbon column than we originally expected. So lots of work going on to work out exactly what that means. But if I'm looking happy, you shouldn't be surprised.
I love it. And let's talk about what kind of opportunity lies in the Kodiak and Afund fields. Why are these projects unique from the rest of the Alaska North Slope?
Well, I'm going to have to correct you on the second one. It's Apun, named after a polar bear that once lived in the zoo in Anchorage, and apparently well beloved. But the Kodiak field, that's the larger of the two fields, 1.2 billion barrels. Apun around about another 400, just under. And if the recent well is as successful as we hope, then that will take that number up around 1 billion barrels based on the pre-drill estimate. But what's really unique and special for Alaska is two things. The first is that the location of these assets is right under the Trans-Alaska Pipeline and the Dalton Highway. That's the main haul road 30 miles south of Dead Horse, which is where the airport, where the oil services center is on the North Slope. So the costs of getting into first production are enormously, an order of magnitude lower than most other developments on the North Slope. The way to think about it is it's sort of like the Permian Basin on steroids, but really cold. And the second thing, and in a sense the more exciting thing, and been recently in the news, is that the gas that we've got has very low carbon dioxide content. Now, that may not mean anything immediately, but if I tell you that too much carbon dioxide in the gas means that it needs to be removed before it can go into a pipeline because it's very corrosive. Whereas our gas, unlike most of the gas on the North Slope, has such low levels that it can go straight into the pipeline without that pre-processing. That allows us to offer it to the state of Alaska or to the consumers in Alaska at an incredibly low price. And we've committed to provide in-state demand at $1 into the pipeline, and in fact, under some circumstances, for free into the pipeline. Now, that's good for Alaska because two things. One is that gas supplies to South Central Alaska are dwindling, and so there's going to be a need for more gas. And the second is because the cost of building a pipeline from the North Slope all the way down to South Central Alaska would be prohibitive unless it were for the ability to supply very cheap gas into that pipeline. And we were delighted last year to sign a contract with the Alaska Gasline Development Corporation to provide cheap gas that would precipitate the development of this pipeline. And in the last week or so, Glenfarne, who are an infrastructure developer founded by former Macquarie bankers, extremely well versed in infrastructure development, they've committed to bring the project forward, working with the state of Alaska. And so we're delighted to be working alongside Glenfarne and AGDC to realizing a project that, frankly, it's been on the books for the last several decades, but finally it looks like it's moving forward, and it's got the support of Governor Dunleavy, but also President-elect Trump supported it publicly in one of his first speeches after his election.
It sounds like you said great news for the residents of Alaska, which is very important as well. David, I wanted to ask you how the projects make the company competitive in attracting additional capital, especially compared to the big four U.S. basins.
Well, the big four, in the Permian Basin, you've got the Delaware and the Midland Basin, you've got the Eagle Ford, you've got the Williston. These are really where the majority of new oil production growth has been happening in the lower 48. And that's where the majority of upstream capital has been invested in the United States. Because of the anatomy of our assets, the fact that we can drill one well at a time, much like in those big four basins, because of our proximity to infrastructure, and yet for approximately a 50% higher well cost, we're getting more than twice as much oil per well. So the economics look really attractive. Our break-evens are likely to be below $30 a barrel compared to today's oil prices. That's a lot of headroom, and that's also probably a lower break-even cost than those big four basins. And just on a unit value, we think it's extremely competitive. And so we are working with advisors and with a number of stakeholders to access capital for the development of these assets, bring them forward to production in 2028, potentially even 2027 if we can get through the regulatory processes in an efficient way, and bring this up to production. And we've got a target looking for around 300,000 barrels a day of production in due course, but that can start as soon as we tie into the Trans-Alaska Pipeline.
Those are great numbers. And what is your sales precedent with the state of Alaska for LNG?
So for providing gas into the Alaska LNG project, so there are three phases to that project. There's the pipeline, which is going to be phase one. There's then the LNG export, which to get that volume of gas may require a carbon capture plant up on the North Slope, so the Arctic carbon capture plant. So those three elements of the project together are about $45 billion. The pipeline is probably $11-12 billion, and we're moving with Glenfarne moving to front-end engineering to refine that cost estimate and to really make sure that the pipeline is financeable moving forward. So that's what we're trying to support, and what we agreed was that up to 500 million cubic feet a day of our gas would be provided over 20 years at $1. In order to make sure that the delivered price of gas down to South Central Alaska was competitive. And that's what unlocked the project. Now, the other thing that's really good news, but still fairly uncertain, in the Kodiak field, when we were drilling the appraisal well, we found levels of helium between 0.5% and 2%. That doesn't sound like very much, but when you consider that it'll come down to the south coast, that if it goes into an LNG plant and you've liquefied everything else at those low temperatures, below 200 degrees, minus 200 degrees centigrade, that leaves just basically helium. That's an incredibly cost-effective way of developing that helium. And at 1% helium, that would be equivalent to maybe 50 or 60 billion cubic feet of helium. Now, put that in context, helium sells for between $500 and $1,000 per 1,000 cubic feet. Right. So, that's a ton of extra potential on the upside. Can't take it to the bank yet, but as we appraise and develop those fields, that would be a really nice little Easter egg to find.
Yeah, helium's not cheap like it maybe was years ago. It's a lot different these days, David. And I know you recently received the results of a well survey. What did they show, and how is the Megrez-1 well unique?
Well, the difference with the Megrez-1 well from what we have drilled to date is that the quality of the reservoir is much better. So in the Kodiak and Apun West fields, the rock is it's tight. It's conventional, but it's tight. It requires completion techniques that you'd find in the major basins in the lower 48. The Megrez well was looking into the eastern portion of the Apun field, where it's much shallower, and the rocks seem to have 10 to 100, even 1,000 times better permeability. That's the ability of oil to flow through the rock. And so what that means is it's really analogous to the developments that are going on at Willow and Pikka, which are the two big ongoing developments being led by ConocoPhillips and Santos, which will be on production during the next 3 or 4 years. And so there's a real renaissance in Alaska. The pipeline right now is only a 1/3 full, plenty of room for all of us to expand and increase production into the pipeline. But what's unique about this well, as I say, in our portfolio, is it's the best quality reservoir we've encountered so far. We went into it expecting probably 300 feet to 500 feet of oil column. What we found was reservoirs over about a 1,200 foot column, so more than twice as much vertical column of oil. And so as I said earlier, we've got Core Lab working out the quality from the cores that we cut as we design a testing program. And during late February and March, we're hoping to come forward with testing results that will demonstrate that we really have lucked out in terms of finding something that really adds to the portfolio.
No, it's very exciting stuff. And David, we know that artificial intelligence is everywhere, by the way. Has AI affected the way you survey or do business in any other way? And do you see more opportunities to use AI in oil and in gas?
Well, there's no question at all. The oil and gas industry has been a major adopter of new technology, probably just behind gaming and defense in terms of being on the cutting edge. And the ability to image several thousand feet below surface using seismic surveys and to create three-dimensional models, both static and dynamic models, that's state of the art. What we're finding is that the use of AI to enhance the interpretation, speed up the interpretation, allow the technical folks to look at more different scenarios in more quickly. So yes, it's absolutely influencing on the discovery side of the business and in terms of the appraisal and understanding what we've got. The really exciting thing is that AI is also voracious user of power. What does Alaska have? It's got cheap energy, almost unlimited cold cold land and fresh water. So the governor has been pushing hard to develop data centers, which will be also part of the anchor demand for gas from the North Slope. And the huge gas resources on the North Slope, coupled with carbon capture potentially down in the historical Cook Inlet, the depleted gas fields, means that you could see very low carbon, very cost-effective data center development, and AI is just a huge driver of that. So AI is affecting us both on the supply side and on the demand side.
In the future, definitely here when it comes to that. Listen, David, it was an absolute pleasure with talking to you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Dan, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks very much indeed.
The honor and pleasure all mine. That was the executive chairman of Pantheon Resources, David Hobbs. The AIM ticker is PANR, and the OTCQX ticker is PTHRF. Thanks for watching All Access. We'll see you next time, fine friends.
Okay, really good stuff there from Dan. Really appreciate it. Folks, one of the things for all of you that have been successful recently, I think we could kind of band together here to help Dan get some of that money together so that he can dry his eyes and his tears from his Lions losing over the weekend. We'll try and help him out there. Sorry about that, Dan. Okay. Anyway, it's time for Anne-Marie. Let's go ahead and bring her on. Anne-Marie, how are you doing?
I got a big kick out of that last commentary because, of course, I was pulling for the Redskins. Oh, sorry, Commanders. And
they'll fix that soon enough, too.
Yeah.
Well, Anne-Marie, I'm glad you got a kick out of that. I will say for several weeks on end here, every time on Tuesday where I would toss it back to Dan, he had some smart quip about how terrible the Bears were. And then the one time where his team gets bounced, he opts not to show up. So really strange how that works. It's just absolutely incredible. Anyway, let's get back to the brass tacks here. We're having fun on a Tuesday here. Again, Anne-Marie, thanks for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and throw your charts up here real quick. I did have a couple that I wanted to start with.
Yes.
But we have earnings on deck here, so we should have no shortage of potential plays here today. So let me see what you got up here. First one you've got up here looks like FTAI. Now, remember, just to kind of set the stage here, we had a short report on FTAI. Then we had Hindenburg saying, hey, we've done all these shorts. We're done. And the stock bounced 30 plus points. Then we had news today that they delayed their 10K. So now we're back down. In fact, looking at it here, we're actually down 30 points here today. So FTAI has been all over the place. Is there anything that we can do using options to set up a trade?
I think so. So the question is, how long do you want to hold the position? So let's talk a little bit about let's talk a little bit about the breakout to the north to see how big the rise was. And so this lowest edge, let's see if my fibs will take us all the way to the top there. Okay, so we had, this was the last big wave before the breakaway. And so I'm going to move this up to, let's see if we can get, let's see if we can get 7 and then 10 and then figure out where we are in between those two. So 7 is up at the 220 area. So let's try 550. So when a chart has this kind of exponential movement, oh, look at that. The eyeballs are working. So
That's incredible.
When a chart has motion like this, it's rare that it continues unless it's really been making money hand over fist. And so I did see, was it Muddy Waters that did it? That put
for the one on FTAI?
Yeah.
I thought that was Hindenburg, but maybe I'm confusing that because Hindenburg ended up closing up shop. Let me confirm that here for you real quick, though.
Wait, Hindenburg is not doing their stuff anymore?
Yeah, we got news excuse me. So, okay, sorry, multiple things going through my brain there. Yes, this short report was from Muddy Waters, but also we got news from Hindenburg that they are no longer they're gonna close up shop.
Interesting. I wonder if they got too many cease and desist letters.
So that I don't know. They did say that they had some big things that they wanted to shake up and they accomplished their goal. And now it's on to something else for them. Now, remember, we did see Citron, who was famous for having short reports, say, we're not going to do this anymore. We're only going to give you long buys.
Hard. Yeah,
so
it's just too hard to short in this kind of market environment. But I think they're probably closing up just a little short of time because later in the year, I do think that we see some really massive volatility that gets some deep dips. So
with you there.
Back to business. As we take a look, we've got about, maybe that looks like a 2.386 pullback. I mean, it pulled all the way back into this deeper area. And so this could be a bit of a buy zone. The question is, what happens during earnings? Does it fade and then bounce? And so what we need is time. And so let's go to the weekly chart. That's the one we normally look at anyway. And then let's see if the chains are good to us. If we
there's been Yeah, it's been a lot of action, and when it loads all those candles and studies, it does the same thing for me.
So we've got a huge gap from, say, 111 all the way up there, and then the value area high over the last 3 years, 70% of all the price action has been between $12.95 and $128. And what's very interesting to me here is that all the volume that's been sitting in this chart over 3 years, I mean, it's moved a lot for its volume point of control to still be down here at 17. So I find that to be very interesting. So here are my thought processes. Of course, you got to go butterfly action, right? And if we say, okay, let's, instead of using this great big long one that we just drew on a Fibonacci, let's try the Fibonacci off this prior week of disaster motion, right? We're going to do head to toe. Looks like we're halfway between this area and the 150 retrace zone. Will be at 51. So we probably want that as some kind of target. I'm going to say 65. And then here on the upside, we'd want to see if it can hold the 100 to maybe 110 area. So that's really wide for a stock this price. 100 to 110, 65 to 55. Let's see if the chains give us what we want. We need to step out in time to give the chart enough time to relax. And so, yeah, we've got it. We certainly have it on the call side. 100 to 110 to 120. 50 cents.
Oh.
Let's go in the other direction. Doesn't have chains that go up that far, but so let's try, since the chains don't go up that far, let's see if it can give us 70, 60, 50. Okay, so the call side is already bouncing, but I would say consider putting those two in the queue cheap. Just put them in the queue cheap and see if the price action begins to bounce and take hold. That'll be nice, but I would say try a 20% discount on the current prices here to go with those.
Let me ask you a hypothetical here, Anne-Marie.
Sure.
I love the strategy about, throw the order out there, see if you get filled at a cheaper price. This is actually what I do with a lot of your butterflies. Full disclosure here, folks, real quick. I get asked a lot if I had Anne-Marie's butterfly for this stock or I didn't for this stock. You would be shocked at how many of these I put orders out for. Some of them, I actually lowball it and don't get filled. Yeah. Now I end up kicking myself in the butt later on when the thing goes 200%, but I do try a lot of them. So there are some cases where I don't get filled, but to me, it's a way to kind of control that risk, but that's as an aside. Would you consider maybe putting in kind of a low price bid for these and then waiting to see if the CBOE releases some more chains and then maybe redo it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so maybe then, given what you have here, kind of a low ball bid, and then over the next couple of days, maybe they do release some more strikes, and then you can maybe set that trade up a little bit tighter. Interesting.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So that's certainly what I would do with that. Well, look at this. It's moving all the way. Literally, I would put these out. This is showing free right now for the call side. I'd put it out for a penny. See if you can buy 5 of them. Why not?
Yeah, there's
tons of volume on the call side.
And it's since you've put this up, I feel like I've seen that move from 50 cents to 0 back to 40 cents, now to 50 cents. Maybe you get filled somewhere in there. That's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. If you really want to get filled, put it in there for a dime. Right?
Okay.
And the goal is just let it shake out. It might be a good idea to lowball it significantly, because when do earnings? 227. Oh, yes. Actually, yeah. Lowball these into the earnings space. Keep them super cheap. If they go, they go. If they don't, they don't. But if they come in and they get you, it's going to be reflexive. You're going to get a massive move in that general direction.
And just, so as you were doing this, I'm kind of setting this up here. And, just what you were discussing there, you had said 5 of them. I actually misclicked here and put 6. You're talking, if you put an order out there for 6 of these and they're 10 cents a piece, you're spending $60 with a potential max profit of almost 6,000.
Exactly.
Okay, Emery, I think I see what you're doing here.
Exactly. And so you're going to get some of these lottery ticket plays. The key is to realize it's a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Don't rush to fill it, and don't buy so much that you look at it and go, oh my gosh, I wish I didn't have that trade on.
Yeah. Okay.
Super important.
Okay. Really good stuff. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Okay. So Boeing was the next one.
Correct. Ticker BA.
Let's take a look at the pictures first. Boeing lives at the Heartbreak Hotel. It's so true. They disappoint you if you're short, and they disappoint you if you're long. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
Big old batch of disappointment.
Yeah, they really are. So here's what's going on with them. We know they've tried. They're turning around their senior leadership. They're trying to do a lot to get these planes out, but they really are dysfunction. They're a measure of dysfunction. The reason these guys stay in business is the same reason Kodak does. They got all kinds of black ops stuff that they do for the government. And so the question is, are they really turning around? And so someone enthusiastic could say, wait a second, take a look at this. This looks like a really ugly potential head and shoulders pattern. And we could have ourselves a pretty nice run to the upside based on these earnings. So what would a pretty nice upside be? If I look at, let me first clear out these drawings. Yes. And then oh, look at that. This was a pretty big move off the earnings. It went right down into 200% retracement. I think 195 is a pretty nice target.
Okay.
Right? So if we're thinking both sides of the equation, I don't know. But with them, they surprise in bad ways all the time. So I'm going to look at 155 and then 195. And let's see. Let's go to Fed. Okay, we're out of these. Okay. Ooh, the 155 is only 95 cents, but there are a lot of options there. All right, so let's go 160. Vol is not very high here. So if per happenstance we kept the original strike and we did 155 to 145, to 135. 50 cents. $1,000 upside, less what you pay for it, plus commissions. That would be downside. If it went upside, got 9,000 contracts at 177, 195. This one might be more expensive. 205, 215. $100. But again, you could sort of, when is the earnings event?
For Boeing?
Yes.
Let me get that for you here real quick.
Think.
That is going to be 7 days from now before the market. So
Yes.
January 28th, Tuesday in the morning.
Yeah. Again, lowball it. Say to yourself, you know what? I'm not going to spend more than $100 on this trade. If you look at it that way and you go, okay, I'm going to try to get one at 50 and the other at 50, or I'm going to try to get one at 48 and the other at 48 and cover all my commissions. If to make it $100 is all I'm spending. That is a fair estimation of what could occur. Now, if per happenstance, it gets a little, no, much more expensive. Yeah. So we'll leave it right there. I think February is going to be very interesting. You know, January, we did not have a very dramatic OPEX. I thought we would have a lot more volatility, but we did not. And so we still have chances for February and March volatility, but these butterflies, as long as we position it in the right space, these butterflies, they're going to print cash if we have a good jolt of motion. You know, I'm a little bit like Redler in the fact that my sense of how earnings are going to respond really have me just putting out a few lottery tickets and waiting until after the earnings to see what the risk events look like. So I do like this one, though, because it's cheap and we are seeing that it's been in a rotation that's holding these levels, right?
Yeah.
And even if it does go to just 197, we're still $2 in the money for 195, and we double our money.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. Okay. Did you have more? Because I like I said,
I have a ton of things to look at, so I don't want to lead us astray. But I've got, you know, we've got Netflix on the horizon. We've talked about that.
Yeah, that's tonight. Same with the United Airlines. UAL.
That's UAL. Okay. These guys are a well-oiled machine. Probably going to do the same sort of thing as Delta did, perhaps. We have looked at, look at this thing just coming right to the halfback. So that could mean 117 or 100. So that's only $10 away. Got a lot of momentum. Let's see if there's anything cheap in there. Holy 124% vol. Wow. Okay, let's try the 31st of January.
Okay.
All right, so let's go 100. Oh, that's tight. Let me see. I hate using $5 spreads, but this is really what it's telling us, that it's between 100 and 95. So we'll do what it tells us. 100, 95, 90, 40 cents.
Not bad at all.
Pressure. Yeah. Upside pressure. let's choose. Let me double check on this one. Where's the top of the edge? 117. So we'll go 115. Let's see how the big one is. 115 to, no, too expensive. So 115 to 120 to 125. Again, $100.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like you're getting both legs for under $100 there, especially if you fill them cheaply.
Yep. Yeah. So listen, the big thing is, I love what you said. I just put a cheap price in there. Sometimes it fills, sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
because here's the thing, Emery, I've noticed that when I chase some of these plays, like even when they end up working out, because I didn't
underwater.
do it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's not even so much like, I don't know that I've ever bought one and then sold it for less when it's worked. I've let some of them expire or triage them, as you've mentioned. But I've noticed that if my entry, like if I'm not patient on my entry, instead of making 100%, maybe I'll make 40%. Or something like that, right? So to me, one of the things that I've done to control this is I've really tried to be a stickler about my entry. The other side of the coin there is that sometimes I just don't get filled on them.
Exactly. And guess what? The buffet table's still gonna be open for some other delightful dish.
That is right.
Yeah,
they never stop coming. They never stop bringing those dishes out here.
I know.
Okay. Like that on UAL.
Yeah. So I also wanted to look at Taiwan Semiconductor. And interestingly enough, this morning I was reading that they had some sort of fire somewhere and they had to send everybody out of the building. And the charts were like, yeah, so what? Sounds like bad news. We're still holding, right? And I thought that to be really quite strong. So we just finished earnings, right? Just on the 13th. This is one of the post earnings trades that I think will be very nice. We had an actual that's above, and so it sold off of the very top, but now it's gapping up into that area. So I think the floor is in here. And so if we think the floor is in, we might do a couple of things, because I don't know that these were the butterflies that we had prior. So this one, it doesn't expire until the 21st, but we paid like 87 cents for it or whatever. And it was 230 something the other day. And now it's, a little bit over $2. That's not a bad place to sell it, to be sure. But this iron condor here really still looks very good. You could even shift up the floor to 200, which would give you a bit more credit. 200 and then 190, right? Gives you $2.95, $3. That's a really nice iron condor there, because I do think any of the big moves up, they're going to fade in the short term, and it'll give us really nice positioning for theta decay, because I think that's what's going to happen. I think we have a digestion area. Let me show you why. Notice the last time it spiked, we had 3 earnings ago. Look at the momentum event, spiked up into earnings, gave it back into the actual earnings event, and then popped and then faded. And so this is very rangy, because I think that not because, but what you'll see is that these momentum mountains, as they were, tend to give us that little rangy play. And so I love the Iron Condor here. I think it's one of the better bets for this chart at this time in my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff there on TSM.
Yeah.
Got anything else you want to cover in the 2 minutes that we have left here?
No, I think things are going to be interesting. Friday, maybe we talk about Palo Alto Networks. And then, I have a very definitive idea on what I believe Tesla's going to do. It's going to fade, chop around a little bit. Elon has said, listen, I think all of those perks that you get for EVs and such, they should all go away anyway.
Yep.
Tesla will manage on its own. He's not quite so territorial as people suspect that he is. He's just all about that free market action. He's just going to go build a better mousetrap inside a Tesla if it needs to be built. So that's just me. I think he's a space alien because he's so wicked smart. He certainly is not.
I wouldn't be shocked if someone came to me and said, look, Elon is an alien. I'd be like, checks out, frankly. Like, that's not,
It's the next Men in Black episode. It's the next Men in Black episode. Yeah, so I think they'll do it. I think it'll be fine. But that's
and real quickly, we shared that story earlier. You're absolutely right. Elon actually went on to say that in the long term, the removal of those subsidies would be a net positive for Tesla, not a net negative. It would be a net negative for its consumers. Okay,
yes.
Anne-Marie, really good stuff here. We're going to go to Tech Tune-Up with Paul Meeks next. Really can't thank you enough for joining us here today, and we'll see you again on Friday. All right?
All right. See you then. Bye,
All
everyone.
right. Take care, Anne-Marie. Thanks again. All of her trades, they're absolute bangers. We hopefully will get filled on this FTAI one. But folks, as mentioned, we are going to send you over to Tech Tune-Up with Paul Meeks. You don't have to go anywhere. I'm just going to send you there right now. Thanks for hanging out with us on Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. We're going to be back